Chapter 987. In the darkness, a sealing aura filled the air. A mysterious array was activated in front of the grand gates of the great Tao city, sealing the entire city gate with lightning speed and creating an independent space-time. The aura here was as cold as a prison. A group of guards was stammering. Someone had secretly activated the defensive array at the city gate. This meant that the powerful figures of the Tao Church had secretly made a move. Their own people had broken the rules here. They could only pretend not to see and watch the situation unfold. Su Yin stood in the darkness. He had already guessed who had come. He had not expected it to be the Tao Church. Su Yin did not want to get involved with the Tao Church, but the Tao Church had secretly attacked him. What could Su Yin do? You're forcing me again and again. Su Yin's eyes were cold. It seemed that the immortal Tao material was important enough for the Tao Church to disregard the rules and attack him. After all, they knew very well that if news of this spread, it would stain the Tao Church's reputation. Hanging beam clown, since you've made a move, show yourself. Su Yan's eyes shone brightly, piercing through the darkness. He secretly used the power of the eye of the universe and vaguely saw the group of people controlling the array. Su Yan's heart trembled. Since they had made a move, it meant that the Tao Church's old antiques could not help but make a move. Could the immortal Tao material be so important that the Almighty could not help but break the Tao Church's iron rules and attack him? Su Yin was really shocked. What was so special about this material? Brother Su, you can keep your composure. The figure hidden in the darkness laughed coldly. A figure quickly emerged from a space. As Bamboo Moon had expected, the Heaven Suppression Battle God was the first to make a move. Of course, the Heaven-suppressing Battle God was not the only one. Zhu Yu used the Eye of the Universe to see the general situation. There were a few old antiques with extremely long lifespans hiding in the formation. It was very difficult for them to remain calm, so they were hiding in the shadows. It's really you. Su Yan's eyes glinted coldly. He had no enmity with the Heaven-suppressing Battle God's bloodline. But the other party had taken a risk to attack him because of the immortal Tao material. They were truly shameless. Since he had come out, it was likely that the old antiques of the Taoist Church were secretly watching their every move. So Brother Su already knew that I was coming. The Heaven-suppressing Battle God's expression was cold as he smiled cruelly at Su Yin. Since you were leaving, why didn't you inform me first? How can I face you like this? This isn't your brother Su's style. What are you talking about? Su Yin replied coldly. What? Is it another powerful being who wants me to go to his official residence to meet him? Since it's already like this, is there a need to continue hiding it? It's really rare to see Brother Su. The Heaven Protector Battle God placed his hands behind his back and stared down at Su Yin. His figure grew stronger as he sneered. Didn't I tell you before that you can't leave the Grand Tao City so easily? Why is Brother Su still so insistent? What a joke. Su Yin mocked. Everyone says that the Grand Tao City is the safest place in the universe. I think it's just that. You're embezzling from your own people. If word gets out, you'll be ridiculed by the world. Is it possible for word to get out? Brother Su, you're thinking too much. The Heaven Suppression Battle God's tone was calm, but emitted a bone-piercing chill. He looked as if he had Su Yin in his grasp and shouted coldly. I'm not in the mood to talk nonsense with you. I'll give you a choice. Hand over the immortal Tao material, and I'll send you out of the city. What do you think of this deal? Send me out of the city? If I'm not wrong, this is no longer the Grand Tao City. Su Yin sneered. Even if your matter is exposed, you'll still have an explanation for the world. Hearing this, the Heaven Suppression Battle God was stunned. The Heaven War God's eyes suddenly shrank. He was a bit surprised and couldn't help but say, Brother Su is indeed Brother Su. Everyone says that Brother Su is also proficient in the Chiman sect. It seems like the rumors are true. Su Yin is indeed a master of the Chiman sect. Since you know that you're already a fish on the chopping board, can you still remain calm? Bamboo Moon was suspicious. Could it be that the Heaven Suppression Battle God didn't know that the prehistoric Big Brother was a big shot? Or could it be that he was acting on his own and had nothing to do with the old antiques of the Tao Hall? However, this didn't make sense. Since the heaven suppression battle god used a corner of the grand Tao city's array, the old antiques of the Tao Hall must have seen through it. Or perhaps the big shots of the Tao Hall didn't tell him that Su Yin had a big shot by his side. This was the only plausible explanation. If the heaven suppression battle god knew that Su Yin had a big shot by his side, he wouldn't dare to provoke Su Yin even if he ate the guts of a ferocious dog. He would probably hide as far away as possible. Bamboo Moon felt that perhaps only a few old monsters hiding in the dark knew, which was why they didn't show themselves. She speculated that the old antiques of the Tao Hall wanted to find an excuse to make a move. As long as the prehistoric Big Brother made a move, he would have an excuse. Bamboo Moon coldly snorted in her heart. Although this old thing knew that the prehistoric Big Brother was a big shot, he definitely didn't know how strong the prehistoric Big Brother was. She estimated that the prehistoric Big Brother was comparable to the heavenly bamboo big shot of his race. The heavenly bamboo big shot was the top big shot in the world, the ultimate overlord of the universe. Even the various overlord forces didn't have such a big shot. There were also differences in strength between big shots. Bamboo Moon felt that the prehistoric Big Brother was definitely a big shot at the peak, a supreme overlord that looked down on everything. Just an old monster from the Tao Hall who didn't have much lifespan, left wanted to make things difficult for the Big Brother. She was thinking too much. Do I even need to panic to deal with you? Su Yin looked up to the sky and laughed. Heaven suppression battle god, don't overestimate yourself. I, Su Yin, have experienced life and death in my life. I'm not afraid of a scoundrel like you. In my eyes, you're just a petty person. You're not even as honest as the sagely battle god. Su Yin, you're too presumptuous. The heaven suppression battle god's eyes widened in anger. He was so angry that his face changed. He and the sagely battle god were both peerless geniuses of the Tao Hall and competed with each other. But now, Su Yin said that he was inferior to the sagely battle god. This made the heaven suppression battle god's expression turn ugly. He pointed at Su Yin and shouted angrily, "You dare to look down on me and criticize me? Who do you think you are? Su Yin, let's make a bet now. If you can last 10 rounds against me, I'll let you go and pretend that I didn't see you. But if you lose, leave the immortal Tao substance behind. I've told you before, you're not qualified to gain something without risking anything." Su Yin replied coldly, "It's easy if you want to bet with me. Take out treasures of equal value. You can bet however you want. I'll send you out of the city and make sure that the experts outside don't know your coordinates. I think that's enough." The heaven suppression battle god shouted with a cold expression, "You have no choice in this. Today, you must fight with me no matter what. Of course, if you really want to take out resources of equal value, I think one tael of primal chaos treasure is enough." With that, the heaven suppression battle god took out one tael of primal chaos treasure disdainfully and threw it at Su Yan's face with 2 fingers. He sneered, "You think this is enough? I think it's enough. Since you're in a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Su Yin was enraged. An invisible field rippled around his body and directly shattered the tail of primal chaos treasure thrown at him. The heaven suppression battle god provoked him again and again. Did he really think that he was a pushover? His confident attitude even made Su Yin really angry. "Very good. This is the legendary Su Yin." The heaven suppression battle god laughed. "Brother Su, if I accidentally hurt you during the battle later, you must be magnanimous and forgive me. Don't forget to hand over the immortal Tao material to me in perfect condition. Stop talking nonsense. You're dawdling like a woman." Su Yan's tongue was like thunder as he reprimanded. "Come at me if you want to fight. If I accidentally kill you, don't blame me for the almighty expert behind you. You're too arrogant. You think you're worthy of the mighty expert behind me targeting you? Su Yin, you're overestimating yourself." The heaven suppression battle god's eyes revealed a ferocious killing intent. In an instant, his aura recovered to its peak. A wisp of terrifying heaven suppression might also spread out like lightning. The sky was gloomy, and the heaven suppression aura overflowed. The heaven suppression battle god's body revealed an indescribable sovereign physique. This was a heaven suppression physique. He was born with a natural pressure, and the stronger he was, the more shocking the pressure was. Boom! Heaven and earth trembled and collapsed. This pressure was like thousands of mountains resonating together. It could easily erupt with an astonishing power that could overturn rivers and seas. The heaven suppression battle god's aura suppressed tens of thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. He looked down at the vast earth, and his eyes flashed with the image of the sun and moon collapsing. Actually, I've always had the mentality of suppressing you with one move. The heaven suppression battle god was infinitely close to the divine king's domain. His heaven suppression physique had also erupted many times. Now, he even had the aura of a king. He vaguely emitted a grand aura that could suppress the universe and shake the stars in the sky. This was also a manifestation of extreme arrogance. However, the heaven suppression battle god did have the qualifications to be arrogant. His long black hair fluttered in the wind as he stood at the top of the sky, looking down at Su Yan from above. "Get down here. I'll beat you to death with one fist." Su Yan's aura became more and more stable. He had made up his mind to teach the heaven suppression battle god a lesson. "How dare you?" The heaven suppression battle god roared angrily. It was as if thousands of mountains were overturned, as if the sky was overturned, and as if a vast ocean had burst its banks. In short, the heaven suppression physique erupted to the extreme, and the phenomenon overflowed into the sky. He can definitely suppress Su Yin with one move. The old monsters who were secretly observing were agitated. Although the heaven suppression battle god was now at the heavenly god realm, with the strength of his physique, he had erupted with the aura of a king. From this, one could see how powerful the heaven suppression battle god was. Boom! The heaven suppression battle god's fist pulled along an aura that could suppress eternity. He wanted to heavily injure Su Yin with one punch. Not good. The few old antiques who were secretly excited had a great change in expression. This was because they had sensed a demonic aura that covered the sky and earth. It erupted in an instant. It was so sudden and decisive that it was so domineering that it gave them a headache. Boom! Su Yan's chi and blood were like the sea, roaring and boiling. He seemed to have transformed into a supreme king. With a loud roar, heaven and earth were shattered. The vast space gave birth to a big explosion. Kill! Su Yan's eyes were overflowing with killing intent. He was too frightening. The old antiques who were vaguely observing in the dark were all frightened. That was a terrifying figure that crossed the sky. With a punch, the heaven suppression battle god's might that filled the sky collapsed and disintegrated. The sealed space was distorted and cracked. No! The heaven suppression battle god lost control and roared. Su Yan had just erupted and activated the human-shaped puppet. The king directly erupted and punched, causing the heaven suppression battle god's fist to explode. Half of his body was collapsing. This was the end of being blasted apart. 9 Heaven's Divine Emperor. Chapter 988. The heaven-suppressing battle god let out a miserable shriek. Su Yan's fist was about to penetrate his soul. His fist was shattered, and the force caused his body to spurt out blood. Half of his body was covered in cracks. The heaven-suppressing battle god was in extreme pain. He wanted nothing more than to fall apart immediately. How terrifying was this uncanny puppet? After fusing with Su Yan, it allowed him to erupt with the battle prowess of a king realm expert. Su Yan was incomparably valiant. His fist caused the heaven-suppressing battle god's fist to explode and half of his body to collapse. So what if you have a heaven-suppressing physique? So what if you have a sovereign physique? No matter how strong a heaven's pride was, they would still tremble in front of the divine king. Su Yan indeed had the battle prowess of a king realm expert. His fist was enough to directly destroy the heaven-suppressing battle god's body and soul. Of course, this also meant that the heaven-suppressing battle god's sovereign physique was powerful enough. If it was someone else, this fist would have directly turned them into a bloody mist without leaving behind any bones. This madman, a few old antiques who were observing in secret, were so angry that their eyes were about to split open. They were about to go crazy from anger. They simply couldn't stop Su Yan's crazy actions in time. They didn't even think that the heaven-suppressing battle god, who had the backing of a powerful expert, would suffer from Su Yan's bloody attack. He really wanted to kill the heaven-suppressing battle god with one fist. These three old antiques were trembling. A madman was indeed a madman. No wonder the experts in the outside world called him Madman Su. He wanted to destroy the heaven-suppressing battle god without saying a word. The heaven-suppressing battle god crazily howled. "You are despicable, despicable, shameless, shameless." He, the heaven-suppressing battle god, never thought that Su Yan would do such a crazy thing. He clearly knew that Su Yan had a supreme expert backing him, but Su Yan still did it. After all, Su Yan broke the rules and used the battle prowess of a king realm expert. "This is how I should deal with a villain like you." A cold light burst out from Su Yan's eyes. He used the tyrant's rupture once again. The human-shaped puppet and Su Yan fused together perfectly. His precious body emitted an inexhaustible heavenly might of gods and devils. His king's aura was vast and mighty, penetrating through 100,000 miles, causing the sealed land to feel like it was about to explode. The aura of a king covered the sky and pressed down. The heaven-suppressing battle god coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. He was in a miserable state. He no longer had the dignified bearing of a young supreme martial artist. Now, he was nothing more than a clay chicken or pottery dog, being crushed by Su Yan to the point where he couldn't even raise his head. "Stop!" In the darkness, the three old antiques who had been lying in ambush were already moving over. Seeing that Su Yan was about to make a second move, they lost control and roared. These were three veteran divine kings, and one of them was a peak-level divine king. With three furious roars, the aura of kings was thick, and blood essence surged, overturning the world. They were really worried that this ruthless person would kill the heaven-suppressing battle god at the slightest disagreement. The sound waves filled the sky. Su Yan was still as tyrannical as before. His long black hair fluttered in the wind, as if he was a supreme king who had awakened from the darkness. His whole body blossomed with a flourish of blood essence that reached the peak of the vault of heaven and roared. Kacha! The heaven and earth directly exploded. Su Yan's killing intent soared to the heavens. He directly ignored the suppression of the three veteran kings and advanced towards the heaven-suppressing battle god, step by step, closing in on him. "Stop him quick!" The heaven-suppressing battle god panicked. Su Yan strode forward like a dragon or a tiger. With every step, his aura became denser by a bit. With a few steps, the scene of a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood appeared. Behind him was a bloody scene of gods and devils withering away. It was as if millions of corpses were lying at his feet. He could slaughter all life in the universe with a single thought. What kind of ferocious aura was this? What kind of divine courage was this? He ignored the rules of heaven and earth and was about to unleash a massacre, crush the heaven-suppressing battle god. In the next moment, the heaven-suppressing battle god despaired. This was because the three veteran kings who were rushing towards Su Yan were imprisoned in the void one by one. Their figures were frozen like statues. One could even see the fear in their eyes. They didn't know where the source was. They only felt that the universe was trembling and the sea of stars was starting to sink. This world was heading towards the end of the world. A wisp of fear appeared in the hearts of the three veteran divine kings. While they were looking down on Su Yan, there was still a barbaric dragon who regarded them as ants. What was this? This was definitely the deterrent force of an almighty expert, causing the scalps of the three veteran divine kings to go numb. No wonder Su Yan had no fear. It turned out that he had an almighty expert by his side to protect him. Bamboo Moon was suspicious. The three veteran divine kings didn't know that Su Yan had a supreme expert by his side. In fact, the three veteran divine kings finally understood why the half-step supreme experts behind them said not to target Su Yan directly. They had to let the heaven-suppressing battle god and Su Yin fight at the same level. Only now did they know. Originally, they really wanted to curse out loud when they found out that there was a supreme expert behind Su Yin. Why didn't he say it? Why did he send them here to die? They were like chess pieces. Once they died, the old antiques behind the half-step supreme expert would definitely have sufficient reason to forcefully take action and seize the immortal Tao substance. In fact, everything that happened here was displayed by a space-time mirror. It was an extremely rare space-time treasure that reflected the scene of the battle. The expert in charge of the mirror was a half-step supreme expert. This half-step supreme expert was even an old general nurtured by a supreme expert. He was extremely powerful. In this cold, underground palace, he said coldly, "Everything is going well. When the Lord draws in the net, he can seize the immortal Tao substance. With this substance in hand, the Lord will have a chance to advance further. This is such a heaven-defying opportunity. How can he give it up so easily?" If Su Yin didn't have a supreme expert protecting him, would he need to go through so much trouble? He could have just spent some money to buy it. Although this breaks the unchanging iron law of the great Tao city, as long as the Lord advances further, the legendary figures of the Tao Temple won't say anything. And the experts of the various factions, how dare they dream of seizing the immortal Tao substance? What a joke. They should take a look at whose territory this is. The disdainful voice of the old general echoed in the huge underground palace. He had always regarded Su Yin as a fish on the chopping board. Now was the time to reap the harvest. Of course, they wouldn't kill Su Yin unless they had no other choice. After all, they would definitely anger the supreme expert. How can this be? The heaven suppression battle god's eyes turned red. Why would the three great divine kings be imprisoned? With Su Yin's strength, it was impossible for him to be so strong. But this was the truth. The figure walking towards him was magnified infinitely in the heaven suppression battle god's sea of consciousness. In the end, the heaven suppression battle god panicked and lost control. He said, "Su Yin, if you have the ability, let's fight at the same level. You used a puppet's supreme treasure. What kind of ability is that? Do you think a lowly person like you is worthy of fighting with me?" Su Yin came closer and looked down at the heaven suppression battle god. He said coldly, "You are just a pitiful worm being used as a chess piece." "What are you talking about?" The heaven suppression battle god trembled in anger. He had a supreme expert behind him. But now, Su Yin's words made the heaven suppression battle god realize why the three veteran divine kings kept saying that he should have a fair fight with Su Yin. Could it be that Su Yin also had a supreme expert protecting him in the dark? When Su Yin's eyes were filled with killing intent, the heaven suppression battle god roared, "You want to kill me? You want to kill me? Do you know the consequences? Do you know the consequences of infuriating an almighty?" Before he could finish speaking, Su Yin's foot ruthlessly stomped on his chest. Crack! The heavily injured heaven suppression battle god's chest caved in from Su Yin's stomp. He screamed miserably and almost fainted. "Bastard, Su Yin, stop. The heaven suppression battle god cannot be killed." The three veteran divine kings were about to go crazy. The heaven suppression battle god was about to be crippled by Su Yin. At the same time, Su Yin was also extremely ruthless. He didn't kill him at all. With his current strength, he could kill the heaven suppression battle god with one slap. But Su Yin believed that the supreme expert behind him was powerful. No matter how ruthless the supreme expert behind him was, he wouldn't throw away the heaven suppression battle god's life. In short, he was viciously beating the heaven suppression battle god to make him remember this bloody lesson. In this space that was about to break down, miserable shrieks were unceasingly heard. The heaven-suppressing battle god was too miserable. He was beaten up by Su Yin to the point of despair. His spirit had also suffered a certain amount of trauma. He howled in grief, "Kill me if you can." "Kill you? You're dreaming." Su Yin sneered. He wouldn't kill the heaven suppression battle god, because once he reached that point, the heaven suppression battle god's body would definitely erupt with a supreme expert's power to protect his life source. He wanted to leave a terrifying shadow in the Heaven Suppression Battle God spirit. Even if the Heaven Suppression Battle God survived, this shadow would become the cruelest obstacle on his cultivation path in the future. This bug, is he courting death? The scene displayed by the spatial mirror shocked and angered the half-step supreme expert. If Su Yin continued beating the Heaven Suppression Battle God like this, he would most likely despair. His spirit would be damaged, and it would be extremely difficult for him to achieve anything in the future. This was an extremely cruel method. The Heaven Suppression Battle God really couldn't bear it anymore. He wanted to kneel and beg for mercy. At this critical juncture, the cold underground palace suddenly emitted a magnificent aura that could devour the universe. The old antique overseeing the great Tao city was enraged. With a single thought, billions of corpses fell and a sea of blood flowed. What was a supreme expert? This was a supreme expert. They were unbelievably powerful. They could easily reverse the laws of the universe, control the universe, and open up their own invincible domain. Boom! A terrifying palm stretched out just like that. The palm was boundless and instantly rushed out of the great Tao city and pressed against the sealed space. Against the palm of a supreme expert, the entire sealed space seemed very small. This palm seemed to be unleashed from outside the universe. It was grand and magnificent. It descended from the sky and caused a huge explosion in the sealed space. Uncle, save me. The Heaven Suppression Battle God saw a glimmer of hope in his despair. He let out a trembling and excited voice. Save me. This palm was domineering and magnificent to the extreme. It was enough to destroy a life realm. Su Yan's body and mind were torn apart. A supreme expert could kill him with a single thought. He didn't even have the chance to resist during the process. This was a supreme expert. The prehistoric big brother raised his head slightly. His messy hair danced in the wind. The aura he emitted was too terrifying. It was as if an ancient dragon had risen from a boundless abyss and illuminated the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Even his eyes were filled with the light of 2 shocking monthly votes. He was calling out to the monthly votes god. There's more at night. 9 heavens, divine sovereign. Chapter 989. The mighty figure's palm that stretched out from the great Tao city was filled with a destructive aura. Due to the aura of the prehistoric big brother leaking out, the mighty figure's palm gradually stopped. However, the palm of the old antique from the Tao Hall did not retreat. It hovered in the air, ready to unleash a destructive attack at any time. An old voice also came from the great Tao city, rumbling and exploding here, intimidating everyone. Fellow Taoist, my lifespan is almost up. Can you let me have the immortal Tao material? The old antique from the Tao Hall spoke with a sincere tone. He did not want to become enemies with a mighty figure, but he was determined to obtain the immortal Tao material. If the prehistoric big brother stopped him, he would definitely use all his strength to fight for the material. This material was extremely important to him. Perhaps he could fight for a new era of glory. How was this possible? The Heaven Suppression Battle God was shocked and afraid. Su Yin had always had a mighty figure by his side, but he did not know it all. Even the great Tao food abode, the Heaven Suppression Battle God, had taken note of this mysterious man with messy hair who covered his face. However, the Heaven Suppression Battle God would never have guessed that Su Yin had a mighty figure by his side. If he had known earlier, he would have been scared away from Su Yin and would not have dared to provoke him. At the same time, the Heaven Suppression Battle God also understood. No wonder Su Yin dared to strut around in the great Tao city and was even fearless. Originally, he had an almighty expert by his side. He had come to the great Tao city to trick people. The prehistoric big brother had a tall figure. No matter how vast the rivers and mountains of the chaos ruins were, no matter how grand the structure of the universe was, it could not suppress his spine. This was a supreme overlord who looked down on the world. In that case, I have no choice but to offend you. The old antique from the Tao Hall was afraid that a long delay would lead to trouble, so he forced himself to make a move. His entire palm emitted the boundless light of order. He had definitely used a great Tao Saint weapon. Although he only used one hand to attack, he had used his most powerful combat strength. Moreover, his huge palm emitted a majestic word, a huge suppress word, filled with the aura of suppressing time, descended from the sky and struck down ruthlessly. Heaven's suppressing seal. Bamboo Moon's eyes narrowed as she guessed the identity of this person. The seal of heaven suppression was a secret technique of the Taoist temple that was not passed down to outsiders. Only those of the celestial suppressor lineage were qualified to cultivate it. The seal of heaven suppression was also one of the top secret techniques in the world, created by a celestial suppressor lineage. The value of this secret technique was not inferior to that of the heavenly King seal. Now that the Almighty had directly evolved the heavenly suppression seal, one could see how much importance the Taoist temple's old fogies placed on the prehistoric Big Brother. The starry sky of the universe was dim and lightless. All matter had been suppressed. It was hard to imagine how strong the palm of a supreme being was. Su Yin felt as if he was facing the vast universe. Even if he used his strongest technique, it would be impossible to shake the tip of the iceberg. So, this is a mighty figure? Su Yin murmured. The Almighty were too powerful enough to make the world despair. They controlled order, opened up the universe, and dominated the world. Every Almighty had the qualifications to open up an imperishable sect, and the resources they left behind could suppress the fate of generations. However, just as the power of the heavenly suppression seal was about to completely suppress the entire place, the three veteran divine kings closest to the prehistoric Big Brother began to tremble in their imprisonment. Their bodies began to crack, and the powerful divine kings' treasured bodies began to cave in. No, the three veteran divine kings were terrified. A barbaric dragon was awakening, and the horror was boundless. Bam! The prehistoric Big Brother exploded. The heavenly suppression seal, the starry sky of the universe, and the creation of heaven and earth, everything was in front of him. It was all in vain. Bam! The bodies of the three veteran divine kings began to explode one after another. It was only a little bit of the blood essence of the prehistoric Big Brother's pores, but it was enough to destroy their bodies and souls completely. How dare you? The Taoist temple's old fogies were enraged. The heavenly suppression seal's power became even stronger. It pulled in the energy of the vast universe, and as it spat out, the essence of a vast region was sucked clean, causing this palm to become 10,000 times stronger. Buzz! A cold light finally shot out from the prehistoric Big Brother's withered eyes. This kind of murderous intent was very terrifying. It was as if the river of time had been shattered, and the power of time and space had been stolen. The prehistoric Big Brother directly waved his palm and slapped at the big hand that was coming down from the sky. It was different from what Bamboo Moon had imagined. She had thought that this was the beginning of a great battle at the pinnacle, a confrontation that would shock the universe. Once they started fighting, it would also break Su Yan's plan to trap and kill the experts of the various races. However, the result left Su Yan and Bamboo Moon in a daze. The prehistoric Big Brother waved his palm and slapped, and the mighty hand that was descending from the sky came to an abrupt stop. The hand trembled inexplicably, and drops of blood as brilliant as the sun flowed down one after another. Each drop of blood could crush rivers and seas, shatter thousands of mountains, and pierce through the stars in the sky. It was rumored that a single drop of blood from a mighty figure could shock a divine king to death. More than a dozen drops of blood as brilliant as the sun sprinkled down, dyeing the vast sky red. It turned this world into a bloody purgatory, revealing a tragic aura that made even gods and demons tremble as it continued to spread. The blood-stained hand retreated at lightning speed, as if it had been frightened. In the process, the power of his palm wrapped around the heavily injured heaven suppression battle god and escaped. This world regained its peace. Bamboo Moon and Su Yin looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. The one who had attacked just now was a mighty figure expert, and he had come prepared. However, the prehistoric big brother had injured him with just a light slap. Although Su Yin knew that the prehistoric big brother was fierce and tyrannical, he did not expect his big brother to be so terrifying in this domain. Where did this happen? The chaotic Great Dao City was full of discussions. Many old monsters could not sit still and were searching for Su Yin in the city. However, they did not expect that the old antiques of the Dao Temple had already broken the iron law of the Great Dao City. They had violated the rules and attacked Su Yin, even moving him out of the city. However, the heaven and earth far away from the Great Dao City trembled continuously, and there was an abnormally terrifying energy fluctuation slightly released, alarming many important figures in the city. There was a change outside the city. Could it be that Su Yin had already left the city? Some people opened their heavenly eyes to look into the distance and saw the scene of blood staining 100,000 miles. What's going on? Could it be that Su Yin had left the city and encountered an assassination attempt? I don't know. Let's go take a look. Something big must have happened. Previously, there was an aura here that made me panic. Blood flowing for 100,000 miles. Is that the sign of a half-step mighty figure's death? The Great Dao City was in chaos. Only the experts of the Han family and Xiaoming's faction did not care at all. No matter how Su Yin escaped, he could not escape 100,000 miles from the Great Dao City. Their trump cards were all lying in ambush outside the Great Dao City. This bug must have left the city. Xiaoming's official residence also moved. An ancient chariot shone and soared into the sky, carrying Xiaoming into the distance. The immortal Dao material is definitely on Su Yin. Such a valuable item cannot be left in the Great Dao City. If I can get my hands on this item, I have hope of becoming a mighty figure. In the Great Dao City, the old monsters with terrifying auras moved one after another. Their destination was only 100,000 miles away. They wanted to rush over quickly, but they could only hope that Su Yin had not been captured alive. Su Yin will not live for long. Zhu Tian and the others were entrenched in the Great Dao City and had not moved. With their qualifications, they could not participate in this. Xiaoming might have some qualifications, but they could only wait and see, hoping to hear some good news. It's a pity that we can't kill him on the Great Dao battle platform. The North Demon expressed that this was a pity. Back then, when he fought with Su Yin, the outcome was unknown. The North Demon saw it as an insult and was afraid that it would be a great stain on his reputation in the future. Su Yin, this arrogant bastard. It's fine even if he dies. The sagely battle god was still brooding. If it were not for the experts of his family stopping him, he would have fought with Su Yin. He believed that his indestructible body was enough to kill Su Yin. In the Great Dao City, the murderous aura dispersed like a tide. But at the same time, it began to roar in the direction of Su Yin. Some people seemed to see a terrible catastrophe about to unfold. Even if someone could seize the immortal Dao material, how could they take it away so easily? In short, since this thing appeared, it would definitely cause the experts of the world to fight for it. It would be another bloody battle to seize the treasure. However, in the Great Dao City, in a huge underground palace, a wisp of terrifying aura appeared faintly. Uncle. The heaven suppression battle god was so frightened that his face turned purple and he trembled uneasily. This was because the old antique of the Taoist temple did not look good. He sat cross-legged on the platform, his sparse hair dancing in the wind. A terrifying aura appeared in his body. What was this? It made a mighty figure feel fear, unease, and even panic. The old generals beside him were all frightened. What was going on? Crack. Then they crawled and trembled. That was because dense cracks appeared on one of the old antique's arms, revealing a terrifying murderous aura. The source of life in the mighty figure's body flowed and was vast. The source of life of a mighty figure was extremely powerful, and its effects were not inferior to divine medicine. It could quickly heal serious injuries. The wounds on the mighty figure's arm were healing at a visible rate. However, only a part of it healed. An indelible, murderous aura appeared in his arm, and the wounds that had just healed burst open again. The heaven suppression battle god was scared silly. The wounds could not be healed and continued to worsen. Even a mighty figure could not resolve it. In the end, the mighty figure's entire arm continued to crack and finally began to shatter. The entire underground palace was trembling. This was the cry of pain that came from the mighty figure. A casual slap from the prehistoric big brother had left him with an indelible Tao injury. His arm could not grow back. How could this be? How could this be? The heaven-suppressing battle god and the half-almighty were so frightened that they could not speak. What kind of savage and ruthless person had they encountered? What kind of deity had Su Yin invited to hold the fort? A casual slap had severely injured a half-almighty. If Su Yin and Bamboo Moon were here, they would definitely be frightened. But now they were moving forward. Su Yin wanted to look up to the sky and roar. Can a mighty figure come? Big Brother hasn't even warmed up, and the old antique of the Taoist temple has already run away. Can a peerless mighty figure come out and fight with Big Brother? Let's have some monthly votes for Big Brother to warm up. Unknowingly, I still owe everyone 14 chapters. 9 Heaven's Divine Sovereign. Chapter 990. The blood-colored world emitted a tragic aura. The root cause of all this was the disaster caused by the blood of the Almighty. Many mountains had collapsed, and there were broken stars falling down. The power of the Almighty's blood was truly astonishing. Su Yan's eyes turned red when he saw it. Unfortunately, the blood contained the resentment of the Almighty and was extremely difficult to refine. Moreover, the blood had already fused with the rivers, mountains, and earth. It was too late to collect it now. The broken rivers and mountains were still in turmoil. Su Yan's group of 3 walked on the ground. Although they were hundreds of thousands of miles away from the great Tao city, the huge commotion they caused earlier would definitely attract many experts to come and investigate. What a pity! Su Yan also felt that it was a pity. The 3 veteran Divine King had been turned into a bloody mist by the aura of the prehistoric Big Brother. Even their own spatial treasures had exploded. Otherwise, they would definitely be able to obtain a shocking amount of wealth. However, Su Yan also knew that since he had already left the city, what had happened now was definitely just the beginning. There were more experts waiting for him. What exactly happened just now? I don't know. Suddenly, a palm stretched out and shook me until I fainted. When I woke up, I saw that the big hand was stained with blood. Some drops of blood sprinkled down and crushed my cave abode. In this area, a group of creatures were trembling incessantly. They were originally cultivating here, but who knew that such a tragedy would suddenly occur? In particular, one of the creatures had a fresh memory. He said with a trembling voice, I think I saw an almighty attack, but he was seriously injured. *T. How can an almighty be injured? I definitely saw it clearly. Otherwise, how can you explain how drops of blood crushed your cave abode? This group of creatures discussed intensely, but they didn't dare to breathe too loudly. They felt that there was a terrifying leader standing here, making their hair stand on end. They even made up their minds to leave this place, feeling that something big was about to happen. However, in the process of these creatures' discussion, the blood-stained rivers and mountains began to shake. The vast territory was trembling. Heavens, what exactly happened? They were terrified because hundreds of terrifying auras were crazily closing in on them like rivers flowing into the sea. It was as if numerous true dragons were crossing over, their figures tearing through the heavens. They were truly frightened. A group of terrifying leaders had arrived. Although they didn't reveal their true bodies, their auras were extremely abnormal. They were secretly investigating and harboring malicious intentions. Their auras were extremely frightening. There were also terrifying existences locking onto them and suppressing this space. They asked them if they had seen 3 people pass by here and if they had been captured by some experts. How could they dare hide this? There were directly a man. Su Yin is a. This was an old man with a gloomy aura. His lifespan was dried up, and he was nearing the end of his life. His skin was so loose that it was about to fall off. However, there was still a terrifying light rising from his body. His eyes were as bright as divine lamps. He wasn't the only one. There were a few old monsters who sensed this as well. They all revealed excited expressions, hurriedly chasing after their target. Just like that, one after another, old monsters with terrifying auras continuously obtained information. They all impatiently wanted to capture Su Yin, regardless of whether it was the immortal Tao material or God Burial Mountain secrets. They were all things they dreamed of obtaining. As long as they could capture Su Yin, then everything wouldn't be an issue. This world was in endless turmoil. All of this because of a single person. It was completely like gods and devils were dancing about, the scene overflowing into the heavens. All types of terrifying pressure wreaked havoc here, forming a world-shaking scene. The pursuers all felt great pressure. With so many old fellas taking action at the same time, who could successfully obtain the immortal Tao material? Right now, no matter what, they had to find Su Yin first. Since the experts who dared take action were all-powerful and daring, they didn't believe they would fall behind others. Moreover, they didn't have much lifespan left, so they could fight with their lives on the line. Ha ha ha, I found him! In the end, someone chased forward and discovered a group of 3 human cultivators who were currently walking towards a distance. This red-robed cultivator was extremely excited. Sesame's eyes shone and released a terrifying brilliance. Without a doubt, this was definitely an old monster whose cultivation was unfathomable. With a slight movement of his aura, even the space exploded. Boom! The red-robed cultivator instantly took action, extremely decisive and tyrannical. He wanted to seize Su Yin first and leave the great city with the earth tunneling technique. He would wait until he found a safe area and then digest the resources he obtained. Ha ha ha! I never thought that it would help me in the end. He seemed to be very excited, his hands dancing about. A withered arm stretched out, yet it was like a barbaric dragon. Even though the blood essence in his arm was dried up to the point it was about to be extinguished, the moment it was ignited, even the heavens were torn apart, and the great stars in the universe were dancing about like little pebbles. However, the red-robed cultivator's expression quickly darkened. The moment he erupted, 3 layers of divine light instantly appeared behind him. Their auras weren't much inferior to his, and they also erupted at the same time. They attacked with everything they had, wanting to suppress Su Yin. 4 bursts of energy fluctuations quickly lock on to the destination. However, at the end of the great city, in each of the space nodes, an old cultivator sat cross-legged, and his expression was gloomy. They sat cross-legged on each of the gigantic array platforms. There were a total of 81 array platforms, and each array platform was as huge as a mountain. They were sparkling and translucent, and extremely complicated patterns of heaven and earth were interwoven on them. If one were to observe carefully, they would be able to see that the array platforms were like a condensed universe hidden within, and they were filled with terrifying traces of time. Every array platform, if put up for auction, would fetch a terrifying sky-high price. The final price wouldn't be less than a few 100,000 kilograms of chaotic treasure materials, and they were definitely not for sale. This was a set of treasures of the Han family, and it was the second most valuable treasure of the Han family. It was a treasure that had been passed down for 1,000,000 years, and its value was self-evident. Now, the 81 gigantic array platforms were placed in each of the space nodes within the great city of the great city. They were like 81 coiling universe dragons, and each array platform was personally overseen by an elder of the Han family, presiding over the overall situation. Now that the array platforms had detected the energy fluctuations, they immediately rushed over and saw the 4 old antiques attacking Su Yin. This is bad. Someone beat us to it. We should directly suppress Su Yin. A Han family cultivator's expression changed. Don't be hasty. A living fossil of the Han family said in a gloomy tone, let these old things attack first. Su Yin, this small fish, must have some means to protect himself. Our Han family also has a family treasure in his hands. it won't be too late for us to attack after more fish have taken the bait. But the words of the Han family's living fossil changed the face of the clan. This caused the Han family leader's expression to change, and he said in a low voice, "Once we do that, it will definitely cause dissatisfaction among all the clans in the world. They might even target our Han family. Humph. Our Han family has an almighty overseeing it, and we have a million-year-old treasure to protect the clan. Who dares to behave atrociously in our Han family?" The Han family's living fossil was full of confidence, and he said coldly, "If the clan wants to rise up and become a pinnacle clan, how can we not make an example out of them? In short, today, our Han family will not only wipe away our previous humiliation, but also establish the prestige of our clan. We will rise up in the chaos ruins, stand at the peak of the universe, and look down on all the clans in the world." The words of the Han family's living fossil made these Han family cultivators extremely agitated, and they all roared out. What were they afraid of? The Han family had an almighty overseeing it, and they even had 81 array platforms that had been passed down for 1,000,000 years to protect the clan. They're here, in the area under the supervision of the Han family. Su Yin slowly turned his head and saw 4 old freaks approaching. They were entrenched in different directions, and they all erupted with lightning speed, each of them reaching out a large hand and grabbing at Su Yin. Bamboo Moon's eyes were cold. In order to suppress Su Yin, these people were truly shameless enough. Great figures that could shake an entire region were making a move against a little cultivator that wasn't even at the heavenly deity realm. Today, if it weren't for the prehistoric big brother suppressing them here, even if Su Yin grew 3 heads and 6 arms, he still wouldn't be able to escape. Of course, this disaster was also caused by Su Yan's own initiative. A terrifying storm had already begun. Mother asterisk cur, Su Yin directly cursed. This was because when the 4 old freaks reached out to grab him, they didn't even touch the corner of his clothes, and they actually began to fight with each other. 4 large hands glowed one after another, and all of them collided together. Suppress. The 4 old freaks roared angrily. They didn't want to give up their spoils of war. In the process of fighting for Su Yin, they displayed their remarkable abilities and suppressed each other. Quick, in front of us, the energy fluctuations are extremely violent. The waves that rippled out from this area also spread throughout the land, startling the vast rivers and mountains. The experts who were in the middle of a search instantly looked at the destination in the distance, and all of them quickly approached. There were even many awakened cultivators. Each of them was like a wild dragon entering the sea, charging forward in a frenzied manner. Heaven and earth were in chaos. Gods and demons danced wildly, and killing intent filled the universe and mountains. How terrifying! The battle for Su Yin has already begun. Su Yin is a tragedy. He just had to show off in the great Tao City. Look at it now, right? Now you know what the bitter consequences are, right? The reason is that he's still a local tyrant who hasn't seen the world. Haha, a rising star of the abandoned race who barged in from the outside world doesn't know how deep the waters of the chaos ruins are. He also doesn't know how many old monsters are lying dormant in the famous mountains and rivers. Once something attracts them, these people will jump out one after another. That's right, sit and watch the show. I want to see how many clans and forces will stand out today. The chaos ruins were too vast, and it was also a place where experts gathered. Usually, experts whose lifespans had dried up would choose to bury themselves in the chaos ruins. Borrowing the energy of the chaos ruins, they would slow down the loss of their lifespans. However, if these people really encountered a treasure that could prolong their lifespans, they would really go crazy. This was an example. However, the scene was a little frightening. Too many experts had erupted. There were experts from peak clans and old freaks who didn't have much lifespan left. In short, once they erupted, the mountains and seas would explode, the sky would collapse, and the world would be on the verge of collapse. The spectators who had followed from the great Tao City to this place were all trembling. Vaguely, they saw Su Yin standing at the forefront, looking very pitiful. However, the rather pitiful Su Yin was waiting for them to charge with anticipation. Chapter 991. In some people's eyes, Su Yin was a fish on the chopping block. As long as they could eat him in one go, they would strike it rich. In short, most of the people who came were old fellows who didn't have much lifespan left. They were about to lose their lives. What was there to fear? As long as they won, they might be able to stand at the peak of the universe and look down on all races. Bastard! The red-robed old man was furious. Behind him, dozens of peerless characters were awakened in an instant. Their auras were terrifying as they charged towards this place at astonishing speed. These characters' auras were extremely powerful. Each of them was like an eternal burning furnace. The essence blood they released reached the peak of the heavens and was almost boiling. How could people not be shocked? They were all extraordinary experts. Their surging blood and chi circled around in the air like dragons. Their blood and chi were overflowing. It was very frightening. Although these old experts were nearing the end of their lifespans, they had no choice but to use their dried-up essence blood at this juncture. The eruption was also quite powerful. Boundless light pierced through the heavens. There was already a terrifying sense of oppression coming over, causing the mountains to tremble and shatter into pieces. The clouds in the 10 directions were all destroyed, and the sky was torn into pieces. This scene was too shocking. The 4 experts closest to Su Yin were anxious. They were all competing with each other and didn't want to give way. If this situation continued, once the pursuers arrived, it wouldn't be so easy to suppress Su Yin and take him away. Hula! Suddenly, a terrifying fluctuation spread out. The light of order burned. The red-robed old man's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. Taking advantage of the moment when the 3 experts were anxious, he decisively took out his ultimate treasure and roared, fighting with this old man for fortune. Die! Buzz! The void was suddenly crushed. A supreme treasure was decisively taken out by him. It was extremely heavy and released an exceptionally fierce, murderous aura. In a short period of time, countless cultivators trembled. Their heads really fell to the ground. Even the divine king was frightened and had goosebumps all over his body. A great Tao, sacred weapon? Some people in the distance cried out in surprise. They saw the red-robed old man take out a blood-red gourd surrounded by surging waves of killing intent. This gourd looked somewhat damaged, but it was surrounded by the light of order. It was on a split open heaven and earth. Bastard! The 3 old experts were horrified. They immediately gave up on Su Yin and turned to flee. But now that they had already taken out their utmost treasures, how could the red-robed old man let them off so easily? In fact, if he were to kill the 3 powerful beings, he would be able to intimidate the pursuers behind them as well. This was basically killing 3 birds with 1 stone. Baby, please turn around. The cold voice spoke word by word. It was like an ancient incantation that opened the door to slaughter. It resounded in the depths of one's soul and carried out the judgment of death. The prehistoric Big Brother's eyelids twitched slightly. His withered eyes emitted a strange luster as he stared at the blood-colored gourd with a solemn expression. Su Yin was flabbergasted. Asking the treasure to turn around? This line was too loud. There was also such a line in the myths and legends of Huaxia's ancient history. Why did this gourd need to be chanted in order to activate its divine might? However, its power caused Yu Yu to cover her red lips with her jade-like hands in shock. Puffed, puffed, puffed. The blood-colored gourd glowed and suddenly expanded as it began to awaken rapidly. The gourd was huge like a blood-colored star. As it turned around, it spewed out streams of blood-colored air currents. The blood-colored air currents sputtered out from the gourd were like streaks of blood-colored sword radiance. They tore through the void in an instant and slashed towards the 3 old experts who were fleeing. The 3 experts cried out in fear because they couldn't evade. In the next moment, they felt a chill on their necks as their heads rolled into the void. Their mouths were still emitting terrified cries. The prehistoric Big Brother frowned slightly. This wasn't the real thing, but a replica. However, this item was already very impressive. It had killed 3 great experts, causing the experts following behind to feel their hair stand on end. What kind of mother-asterisk king treasure was this? It had killed 3 great experts in one go. After doing all this, the red-robed old man did not even have the time to destroy their primordial spirits. He directly charged forward and laughed nastily. Su-Yin, darling, this old man is coming. TSK, TSK. If you resist, TSK, TSK. If you resist, you should know the consequences. F***CK, your ancestors. Su-Yan's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. He was so disgusted by these words that he almost vomited. The red-robed old man didn't want to kill Su-Yan. He wasn't satisfied and wanted to obtain the secrets of God Burial Mountain. However, when the red-robed old man was about to get close to Su-Yan, the heavenly wind blew and a terrifying aura covered the sky. It was as if a corner of the universe was pressing down, causing the red-robed old man's expression to change drastically. He was also dizzy from the pressure. "Please, baby." The red-robed old man roared and wanted to unleash the power of the gourd once again. However, this gourd seemed to require an incantation. Unfortunately, before its power could be unleashed, a huge hand slammed down from the void, causing half of the red-robed old man's body to collapse. It was as if it had been struck by lightning. It was a tragic sight. A half-step almighty has made his move. Everyone present turned pale with fright. Even a peerless figure couldn't help but make his move. Moreover, the half-step almighty who had severely injured the red-robed old man attacked with his other hand, wanting to suppress Su-Yin and take him away. Su-Yin instantly brought out the Great Tao diagram. The most precious treasure that originated from the Han family had been awakened. It was as if the magnificent universe, rivers, and mountains were lying there. This was because Su-Yin could clearly sense that it wasn't just one peerless figure who had arrived. There were at least 3 of them. He used the Great Tao diagram to block the aftermath of the battle and even prevent the prehistoric Big Brother's combat power from leaking out. Boom! An astonishing collision unfolded just like that. The 3 half-step almighties erupted at the same time, each displaying their magical powers. When they collided, everything collapsed. The entire world shattered like a mirror. Su-Yin and the others were unharmed because the Great Tao diagram had blocked the aftermath of the battle. However, the entire region was shaking from their battle. The aura of battle also spread and rushed towards the Great Tao city, causing the cultivators in the city to have goosebumps. It was as if 3 giant dragons were fighting. The aura that rushed out was quite frightening. "Charge!" Someone was shouting and causing chaos in the battlefield. The 3 half-step almighties were already fighting fiercely. They might be able to benefit from this. Just like that, a large number of experts rushed over. The scene was completely chaotic. Gods and demons danced wildly, and killing intent pierced through the heavens. Oh my God! The spectators in the distance trembled. The entire region was rumbling. Time seemed to have returned to the ancient times, and an incomparably tragic battle between gods and demons broke out. This was a terrifying and boundless expedition. Everyone was going crazy for the sake of treasures. Even the divine king died tragically. His body was directly dismembered and beaten into a pile of ashes. In order to fight for the immortal Tao material, these people had truly gone crazy. They didn't even care about the storm caused by the battle between half-step almighties. They were completely fighting for their lives. In fact, most of these people were exhausted and didn't have much lifespan left. If they didn't fight for it now, they wouldn't have any hope of encountering such a great fortune in the future. The longer they lived, the more they feared death. At the same time, when their lifespan was approaching, they would really go crazy. Su-Yin was shocked by this crazy scene. He couldn't help but think that if he also faced the end of his lifespan thousands of years later, would he do some inhumane and bloody things to prolong his lifespan? In the past, such things had happened so often that they could be found in the sea. There would always be fierce demons who would massacre an ancient city and use the flesh and blood of living beings as their lifespan essence to eat. Just thinking about it made one realize how cruel these things were. Now, Groups of old experts wanted to live for another generation. Some were even unsatisfied with their current situation and wanted to make breakthroughs. Thus, they did these crazy things. In the past, they were all great characters with their own destinies. However, in the face of time, they had no choice but to stand out and fight for hegemony. A bunch of ants. The half-step almighties were furious. The number of half-step almighties who participated had already soared to 5. They were furious. Gods were fighting, and a group of little kings were causing trouble here. This was completely disrespectful. Roar. A half-step almighty let out a loud roar. This was a creature with a terrifying aura. It opened its bloody mouth and swallowed a divine king to replenish its source of life. It emitted a furious aura that suppressed the surroundings. "Get rid of them from me," another half-step almighty said cruelly. However, his opponent took the opportunity to approach Su Yin and raise his palm to hit the Great Tao diagram. This Great Tao diagram was dazzling. It was like a corner of the universe that had been cut off, blocking the aftermath of the battle. Even if a half-step almighty slapped it, it would be extremely difficult to destroy the Great Tao diagram. Bamboo Moon also understood Su Yan's intention. He didn't want the prehistoric Big Brother strength to be exposed in advance. After all, he wanted to lure out his opponent. It wasn't them. It wasn't the old antiques of the Taoist temple, nor was it the Han family. It was Qiu Ming's lineage. He felt that since Qiu Ming knew about the uncanny craftsmanship series, even the immortal Tao substance, the primal chaos origin gas, and the terrain chapter, then Qiu Ming was definitely the one who wanted to suppress Su Yin the most. However, no matter how hard the Great Tao diagram was, it began to dim. This secret treasure of the sect was about to shatter at any moment. After all, it had lost a lot of its power in the God Burial Mountain. This treasure was really about to collapse. Kill. Finally, a divine king took out a heavenly blade and slashed open a corner of the Great Tao diagram. He charged in and charged straight at Su Yan. The prehistoric Big Brother's eyes emitted a cold light as he raised his hand and punched out. At first, the divine king didn't care. However, who would have thought that the divine king's soul would be instantly evaporated by the vast divine might? He was already dead. His soul had been evaporated in an instant. In fact, the divine king didn't even have the will to think about why he had died before he died. Even the divine king's physical body seemed to be intact. Su Yin decisively attacked. He revived the humanoid puppet and punched out. The aura of a king spread and directly smashed the divine king's head. Then, he slammed the divine king into the ground with a backhand, causing blood to flow everywhere. He blocked the divine king with one palm and intimidated his primordial spirit. It seems like he's a half-step almighty. So this is what Su Yin is relying on. However, a half-step almighty in his golden years is indeed not to be underestimated. After all this commotion, this kid's trump card is just a half-step almighty. Although his foundation is not bad, in front of me, it's nothing. What's a half-step almighty? Now, it's time for the Han family to take the stage. The lost glory, the lost immortal Tao material. Today, the Han family will take it all back. The living fossil of the Han family spoke in a sinister tone. Where are the sons of the Han family? Charge forward and dominate the battlefield. Show the might of our Han family and intimidate the myriad races of the universe. This is a battle of glory that belongs to our Han family. Let's rise again in glory. A battle of glory. Let's regain our glory. Kill. Everyone in the Han family roared excitedly as large batches of experts charged forward. One living fossil after another stood out, waving flags and shouting battle cries. They seemed to have seen the bloody battlefield being suppressed and the old monsters being slaughtered by them. They stood atop a sea of corpses and looked down on the myriad races of the world, regaining their lost glory and glory. Chapter 992. Bloody light blossomed in the chaotic land of blood. The world was dyed dark red, and the sea of stars had long since been dyed red. From the beginning of this battle, the heavens and the earth were in chaos. Ghosts cried and gods howled. It could be said that it shocked the heavens and the earth. Until now, many of the spectators were still in a state of shock. They were all wondering what exactly the substance that Su Yan had obtained was and why it would cause the top figures to fight each other. Even now, they hadn't obtained the item, but they had already gone mad from the killing. Even the Divine King was nursing a grievance. Many great characters with withered lifespans were fighting with their lives on the line. Their roars shook heaven and earth, mountains and rivers. They all wanted to tear apart the enemy and take the fortune into their hands. There were also powerhouses on the verge of death who fled. This battle was much crueler than they had imagined. How could the immortal Tao substance be so easy to fight over? Even half-step powerhouses had come out to fight with their lives on the line. They were afraid and wanted to preserve their lives to continue struggling at death's door. The great Tao diagram is about to shatter. In the world of surging bloody light, some people saw that the great Tao diagram in Su Yan's grasp was riddled with holes. It could no longer suppress the endless waves of energy from the outside world. Su Yan doesn't have long to live. I wonder who will be the final winner. This is a battle of the gods. Once the substance is taken away, the struggle for hegemony will continue. I really don't know how many people will die. It's too tragic. Most of them are old powerhouses with withered lifespans. They don't have much time left and want to fight for a future. Unfortunately, they died halfway before they could even touch the supreme substance. There were too many spectators. The great Tao city was also surging like a storm. They looked at the trembling and bleeding land and sighed endlessly. One day, they would also enter their old age and face the slaughter of time. When that day really came, would they be like these people and die on the road to extending their lifespans? Since ancient times, has no one been able to live forever? There were also some people who were absent-minded and muttered to themselves, "Even the powerhouses can't withstand the power of time." Since ancient times, has no one been able to live forever and break through the limits of the universe and break the unmovable iron law of time? These words calmed many people. Since ancient times, who could live forever? They had never heard of it. Even the ancient books didn't record it. It was already very impressive for cultivators to live for tens of thousands of years. Bang! As everyone watched the battle anxiously, they all saw the great Tao diagram shatter abruptly, and all the heroes pounced on it at the same time. At that moment, the nerves of countless spectators were shaken. King Kongpa, on the other hand, was smiling bitterly. Just how many people was this kid trying to kill? He was even thinking that even if a powerful being were to step forward, how could the Han family and Xiaoming's bloodline just watch as Su Yan swaggered away? Boom! Suddenly, in this extremely oppressive battlefield, the entire great region that was bleeding with blood began to tremble. All types of resplendent radiance began to be released. This was an extremely domineering, murderous force that surged violently, sweeping through all directions. The entire region trembled as if it was about to collapse. There were war cries, the rumbling of ancient war chariots crushing the sky dome, the angry shouts of great characters that shook the souls of people, and the galloping sound of thousands of soldiers and horses rushing over. All of you, hurry and look. There are powerful clans coming to participate in the battle. Some people felt their scalps go numb as they shouted, "This is too crazy. What kind of clan is this? Are they extending the lifespan of their clan's ancestor?" The murderous light that swept through the entire region was covered by the divine pressure that had emerged. One after another, powerful beings with terrifying auras stood at the peak of the universe. They commanded the heroes, waved their flags, and shouted their battle cries. They had the power to suppress the entire chaotic land of blood. They wanted to fight a glorious battle, a glorious battle. The storm that surged over was too violent, causing heaven and earth to shake. It also had the power to suppress the entire chaotic land of blood and pacify the entire battlefield. Who is it? An old antique was stunned. He looked over with a pair of uncertain eyes. He could directly see that one after another, powerful beings with astonishing auras were charging over. There were more than 10 divine king and even 3 half-step powerful beings. They seem to have seen a group of living fossils hibernating in the famed mountains and great rivers emerge. They commanded the world, controlled the universe, and suppressed the entire chaotic land of blood. It's people from the Han family. These old monsters' expressions changed. Why had the Han family suddenly killed so many experts? After all, the matter of the immortal Tao substance had been leaked. Many old monsters had set their sights on the Han family and felt that the Han family still had such a substance. Shouldn't the Han family be guarding the clan and guarding against external enemies? But now they dared to kill so many experts at such a critical juncture. Could it be that the Han family had a powerful being overseeing them? Run! The group of old monsters was frightened and fled in all directions. Since the Han family had killed so many people, their attitude was clear. That substance wasn't something they could contend for. There were also some who weren't convinced and wanted to stay behind to see if they could fish in troubled waters. Boom! A blazing radiance was released from tens of thousands of kilometers away. It was a living fossil with snow-white hair. His lifespan was so withered that he staggered as he walked and would fall to the ground at any moment. He was an old monster who was about to enter the earth. However, the sword embryo on his back was unsheathed. The snow-white radiance was so dazzling that it almost made people's eyes bleed. Heaven and earth collapsed. Great spatial cracks appeared one after another. The moment the sword embryo left its body, it cut open the sea of stars. Divine might overflowed into the heavens. Great Tao, sacred weapon. Everyone trembled. This was a great Tao sacred weapon that the Han family had brought out. Some of the old monsters who were fleeing had their bodies directly hacked apart and exploded into bloody light. What? You all dare? A great figure whose lifespan was withered had a gloomy expression. What was the Han family trying to do? They immediately made a big fuss and used the great Tao sacred weapon to hack 3 fleeing old monsters to death. Haha! The snow-white hair living fossil of the Han family spoke in a sinister voice. Since you seized my Han family's supreme treasure, you all will die here. When these words were spoken, everyone trembled. Even the gods and devils seemed to be weeping. There were also some who were horrified. What exactly was the Han family trying to do? Could it be that they wanted to kill everyone here? He knew the consequences. Uncle Kong had seen through the Han family's intentions. The clan's prestige had been damaged one after another. Now, the Han family was acting in a tyrannical manner. They wanted to regain their lost prestige and slaughter their way back to the peak. The Han family didn't care about these dying old monsters at all. They immediately began a massacre. The dozen or so old monsters who were fleeing were all killed. This scene shocked the world. It also boosted the morale of the Han family's experts. One after another, someone shouted, "In the battle of glory, those who seize my Han family's supreme treasure must be killed." Even a small Su Yin wants to provoke my Han family. Does he really think my Han family is a soft persimmon? Heh, heh. Also, those who try to touch my clan's treasure must all die here today. Not a single one can be left alive. Su Yin, you little bastard. You've provoked my Han family time and time again. Today, I'll let you know what a peak clan is. Why aren't you kneeling down and repenting for your sins? The experts of the Han family rushed over in large batches, and the cries of agony from the experts could be heard echoing throughout the bloody battlefield. Many experts who were fighting for Celestial Path materials were just scattered soldiers. Facing the Han family, who was close to the peak, they really weren't enough. Moreover, the Han family was really going all out. They wanted to slaughter their way back to the peak and start a battle of glory. The Han family is just too vicious. This clan has an almighty overseeing it. With this kind of confidence, it's not called ruthless, it's called domineering. A clan with an almighty is different. Su Yin is so pitiful. Now, the Han family is pressing over. Although dealing with Su Yin is like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, the Han family's goal is to shock the various clans. The spectators discussed and were all shocked. The Han family had lost their master. If they didn't kill them, their clan would really decline. Now, The various clans respected the Han family from the bottom of their hearts. Too many people had died. Su Yin, you little brat, kneel down and repent for your sins. The Han family's current clan leader stared furiously. He was a peak divine king and was standing at the peak of his golden years. Once he went crazy, his essence blood surged like an ocean, filling up the entire land and pressing down on Su Yin. Heaven and earth became much quieter, and the atmosphere was really suppressed. The Han family experts were really majestic. The current clan leader was also really domineering. There was already an expert behind the clan, and he was really confident. He directly told Su Yin to kneel down and repent. I killed the Han family's master on the platform. I won fair and square. Su Yin said with disdain, unlike you, who keep stabbing me in the back and using underhanded methods. Why do you feel that your loss is too shameful? Now, you've sent an army to surround me. Your Han family skin is really thick. You are asking to die. The Han family leader's eyes turned red. The death of the master was an irreparable loss for the Han family. However, just as the wound healed, Su Yin ripped it open. This made the Han family leader furious. You are about to die, and you still dare to talk back. I think you really won't cry until you see the coffin. I'm still living well. Su Yin laughed coldly. He looked around and was a little surprised. Where did that old fellow from your Han family go? That fellow has always wanted to kill me, so why don't I see him now? The first person that Su Yin wanted to kill was the Han family's master, but he didn't come. What a joke. In order to crush you, does my Han clan need to mobilize the entire clan? The Han family leader laughed coldly. Han Kong, step out and kill Su Yin. If anyone dares to move, kill them directly. The moment he said this, a terrifying sword core awakened. The Han family's Dao Saint weapon was awakening. It gave off the light of order and pointed towards the prehistoric brother. These words were for the prehistoric brother. If he dared to help Su Yin, he would be the first to be killed. Family leader, I will definitely rip off Su Yin's head. Han Kong walked out with a ferocious expression. He pointed at Su Yin and laughed coldly. Brother Su, we meet again. But this time, I have to remind you that if you dare to move, the killing sword of the Great Path will cut off your legs. If you stand still and let me hammer you to death, you will die more easily. After saying this, Han Kong held a black hammer and wanted to beat Su Yin to death. He wanted to crush Su Yin in front of everyone. Only then could he vent the hatred in his heart. He is humiliating Madman Su. Many people couldn't bear to watch. The Dao Saint weapon was in the air. Who dared to move? Although Su Yin had an old expert protecting him, he couldn't protect Su Yin at all. I am not humiliating you. Even if I stand still, you can't threaten me. Su Yin said disdainfully. Is there no one left in your Han family to carry on? You sent a small fry to fight me? Kill him. The experts from the Han family roared into the sky. Even now, they still couldn't recover from the pain of their master's death. Su Yin, give me your life. Han Kong also felt a huge humiliation. His eyes turned red, and he charged forwards. He swung the hammer at Su Yin and wanted to smash him into pieces. Many people couldn't bear to watch such a gory scene. He wanted to kill Su Yin. Wasn't that too cruel? The hammer tore through the air with terrifying strength. It smashed down and landed squarely on Su Yin's chest, causing a loud explosion. Blood splattered and screams exploded. It was extremely tragic and reverberated in the area, causing some people to shiver. Chapter 993. Many young geniuses felt their hair stand on end. This sound was too miserable. The anguished howls were unending, and they were in so much pain that they wished they were dead. The pain of being hammered to death is torture. The experts of the Han family truly hate Su Yin to the extreme. Otherwise, they wouldn't use such vicious methods in front of everyone. Some people were drenched in cold sweat. They were scared stiff. This was the cruel punishment of being hammered to death. Moreover, Han Kong had swung his giant hammer in front of everyone, wanting to directly hammer Su Yin to death. Blood splattered everywhere, followed by mournful screams. This was the cruel truth. The facts seemed to prove that even if one was an absolute overlord of the younger generation, if he really provoked a power he shouldn't have, his end would be especially miserable. Now, the Han family had a great Tao Saint weapon, and there were even 3 supreme experts who rule the world. They were the overlords of this land of bloodshed. Who would dare to interfere, unless a supreme expert really came out? Some young cultivators sighed. Su Yin was truly miserable. He was hammered to death and crushed to death. This fate was truly miserable. He had fought for hegemony all his life, experiencing life and death situations. Originally, he should have been glorious, but in the end, he met a tragic end. Something's not right. Someone was suddenly stunned. He had been watching the battlefield all this time. At this time, he discovered that within the blood-soaked space, that figure was unmoving, towering between heaven and earth. The bloody light had concealed the truth before, causing them to overlook a problem. The next scene caused an uproar in the crowd. This was because the huge hammer that was smashing towards Su Yin had shattered into pieces. As for Hong Kong, who was wielding the huge hammer, when he had struck Su Yin with the huge hammer, he had encountered a strong rebound force. This was the monstrous power of a barbaric dragon. It was terrifying beyond compare. All of a sudden, the recoil shattered Han Kang's arm. Even his entire body was filled with cracks. Fresh blood flowed out and dyed his entire body into a bloody mess. Hong Kong howled. He wasn't in pain, but rather humiliation. He was standing here hammering Su Yin to death, but in the end, he was almost directly shaken to death by the power of the demonic gods in Su Yan's body. Bastard! This scene caused the faces and necks of the Han family experts to turn red. They were so angry that their bodies began to tremble. This was an extraordinary shame and humiliation. They had come with great fanfare and even dominated the entire scene. They were supposed to be in their strongest state and brutally suppress Su Yin. But what was the result? Han Kang's body was torn apart, but Su Yin didn't even budge. He had heavily wounded Hong Kong on the spot. Many people wanted to laugh, but they couldn't. What a ridiculous scene this was. Su Yin was still so tall and majestic, possessing the spirit of a peerless expert. But Hong Kong was trembling in pain. He felt that Su Yin didn't even need to do anything. The Han family's experts could tear him apart alive. It must be you, old thing. The Han family's patriarch reacted quickly and threw the blame to Su Yan's guardian. He pointed at the prehistoric elder brother and said angrily, "Please take action and suppress this person." As soon as the thunderous fury was transferred to the prehistoric elder brother, Su Yin took a step forward and arrived in front of Hong Kong. He raised his fist and punched. "You're courting death." A living fossil of the Han family went crazy and stretched out his hand. It was as if a natural diagram of the universe had spread out, surging with a terrifying suppressive power. He wanted to suppress Su Yin on the spot. Is it going to end? Everyone murmured. Although there had been a small interlude, it seemed to be over. The experts of the Han family didn't want to wait any longer. They were also worried that the situation would change if they delayed. However, the outcome left them flabbergasted. Before this slap could even touch Su Yin, it had already been frozen. Meanwhile, Su Yan's fist bombarded him directly. "No, ancestor, save me." Hong Kong was scared to death. What was going on? Why couldn't a half-step almighty expert suppress Su Yin? He was really desperate. Su Yan's fist came across the sky and was filled with the domineering aura of a king. Buzz! The living fossil of the Han family exploded one after another. His giant palm glowed, but no matter how strong he was, he couldn't break through the strange power that stopped him. This made him furious. With such a situation and such glory, if Hong Kong was still killed by Su Yin with a single punch, he would become a huge laughingstock. However, it was too late for the experts of the Han family to stop Su Yin. His fist directly pierced through Hong Kong. Hong Kong exploded into a bloody mist as he was sent flying, splattering on the faces of many of the furious members of the Han family. The crowd was boiling. At this time, Su Yin still had the guts to kill. Some people felt that Su Yan's confidence was too strong and that he might have some tricks up his sleeve. Others felt that Su Yin had been driven crazy and wanted to kill to his heart's content before he died. "It's all your fault. Kill him." The head of the Han family roared angrily. More than a dozen experts rushed over, wanting to kill the prehistoric Big Brother. In a world where killing light swept over, it was as if a vast, bloody storm had swept over. Everyone saw the more than a dozen old experts of the Han family show their magical powers and evolve killing techniques to crush the prehistoric Big Brother. Boom! In a world where divine power roared, a scene that stunned all the cultivators present. All kinds of killing techniques launched by the dozen or so experts were turned into nothingness before they could even touch the prehistoric Big Brother. There were no particularly violent energy waves spreading out, nor were there any marvelous techniques being unleashed. Everything was so calm and tranquil. However, the people present were in disbelief. Some couldn't believe what they were seeing. The expressions of the dozen old experts changed drastically. How could this be? Their killing techniques were like clay oxen entering the sea and didn't cause any ripples. Kill him. The white-haired old man who wielded the great Tao Divine weapon was shocked and furious. He directly drew his sword embryo and pointed at the prehistoric Big Brother. If he dares to move, I'll cut off his head right now. Kill. The dozen experts regained their confidence and rushed over again. The power of their killing techniques soared by a large margin. A violent storm swept over, sweeping up the prehistoric Big Brother's messy long hair. A trace of cold light bloomed in his withered eyes. The prehistoric Big Brother took a small step forward. It was as if a wild dragon had broken out of its cage. In an instant, the dozen experts were all sent flying. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Many people rubbed their eyes, thinking that they were seeing things. What was this? They saw the prehistoric Big Brother take a small step forward and send the dozen old experts flying. The Divine King was like a piece of paper, weaker than a chicken. This, someone stammered, not knowing what to say. Other than shock, there was only shock. More than half of the dozen experts were the Divine King, but they couldn't even touch the prehistoric Big Brother and were sent flying. This was too frightening. What kind of astonishing method was this? Some people were doubtful. Was a half-step almighty so strong? They didn't see the prehistoric Big Brother move at all. They only saw the dozen experts close in on him and sent flying. It was as if they had angered the heavens. No. A cry of despair exploded. A Han family expert was so frightened that his legs went soft. He fell to the ground, paralyzed, and his eyes were full of fear. This scene shocked the Han family experts. They all went over to check on the experts who had been sent flying. Most of them were the Han family head. Many of the Han clan's experts were filled with fear when they saw this scene. Impossible. There were even godly kings who lost control and roared. Because the Han family patriarch had died, and more than 10 experts had all died. They fell to the ground, and their expressions were normal. This meant that they did not know that they had died. What kind of strange scene was this? More than a dozen old experts had been killed in the blink of an eye. Could this be a supreme expert? Many people's legs were trembling. The onlookers were in an uproar. This was a terrifying method to evaporate one's primordial spirit in an instant. Even if he's not a supreme expert, he's at least a half-step supreme expert. Someone said he didn't quite believe that this was a supreme expert. The might of a supreme expert was inviolable. The Han family had come with great fanfare. The supreme expert would have already destroyed them in anger. Why would he wait until now to make a move? No wonder Su Yin was so fearless. He originally had a peerless expert overseeing him. The Han family's casualties were too great. Even if Su Yin was killed, the family's foundation would be greatly damaged. Some people smacked their lips. These words made some of the old antiques who had been preparing to make a move secretly rejoice. Fortunately, they hadn't charged forward. Otherwise, they wouldn't even know how they died. A peerless half-step supreme expert could kill the Divine King like killing a chicken. Clearly, this person was such a vicious person. Generally speaking, he had the qualifications to interact with supreme experts as equals. Is my Han family so easy to provoke? Is there? The white-haired elder's eyes were about to split open. He looked up to the sky and let out a long hiss. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. Although the Han family's foundation was powerful, the death of a group of Divine King was a loss that was difficult to make up for. Even the Han family's current clan head had died. Such a heavy blow made the heroes of the Han family want to cry out loud. "I'll kill you, you scoundrel!" The white-haired elder's eyes were so red that they were about to burst out. He was also a half-step supreme expert and even wielded a sacred weapon, the sword embryo. This snow-white sword embryo erupted. Billions of sword rays surged out violently. It was as if a meteor shower had fallen down in the vast universe. The entire bleeding region was on the verge of collapse, along with the spread of a terrifying divine might. It was aimed at the prehistoric Big Brother. It was a terrifying scene. The mountains and seas were sinking, and the sun and moon were falling together. The sacred weapon of the great Tao released a peerless power. It was as if a supreme expert was spitting. Billions of sword rays slashed down. It was going to bury the prehistoric Big Brother. As this sword slashed down, the sword rays illuminated the entire region. Everyone present felt as if their souls were about to evaporate. The sacred weapon of the great Tao erupted to a peerless level. Its aura was terrifying. "Leave quickly." The entire place was in chaos. Once this sword slashed down, it would definitely lead to a great disaster. Everyone would be buried along with it. However, it was too late for them to leave. The sword embryo of the great Tao slashed down with a resplendent light that overflowed the sky. It was going to cut the entire region into two. Just as they were in despair and fear, they suddenly saw a large bronze hand stretch out. Two fingers clamped the sacred weapon of the great Tao between them. No matter how sharp the sword embryo was, it could only rumble and tremble between the two fingers of the prehistoric Big Brother. 2 chapters have been updated consecutively. There's more tonight. Chapter 994. The shocking scene left all the living beings in the entire region dumbfounded. Whether it was the Divine King, the half-mighty figures, or the leaders of the top clans, they were all petrified. Only a painting master with great composure quickly took out a brush of the great Tao and solemnly took out the crystal painting scroll woven from the Divine King's silk. He was carving rapidly, and his strokes were vigorous like dragons and snakes dancing. Accompanied by the sound of the great Tao, he had great painting skills. His works could imitate the great Tao of heaven and earth. He was a famous painting master in the city of the great Tao, and his works were sought after by all the powerful figures. This person even used less than a breath's time to finish the painting. Then, he became extremely weak and almost fell to the ground. He had used up all his heart's energy. But the painting scroll he painted shone on its own, shining brightly and illuminating the world. A huge image appeared, accompanied by a magnificent scene. In the middle stood a tall man with messy hair. He was indomitable. His 2 fingers clamped down on a sword embryo of the great Tao. However, no matter how majestic the sword embryo was, in front of the prehistoric Big Brother, it seemed especially small. Without a doubt, this work was accompanied by a terrifying artistic conception that made people intoxicated and unable to extricate themselves. Unfortunately, he couldn't imitate the charm in it. Of course, with his cultivation, he couldn't imitate the charm in between the two. Otherwise, this painting scroll wouldn't be able to bear the charm in it. Once in a lifetime. Ha! The painting master looked up to the sky and laughed, his eyes full of pride. He felt that his life wasn't in vain to be able to witness a powerful figure catching a great Tao divine weapon with his bare hands. The painting master's laughter made the atmosphere extremely strange. The old antiques who were prepared to deal with Su Yin felt a chill run down their spines as if they had fallen into an ice cave. They were so scared that they shivered. Beads of sweat rolled down their foreheads, soaking their bodies. Some people couldn't withstand it and directly fell to the ground, trembling. Even the half-mighty figure's legs went soft and their eyes turned black. They wanted to curse out loud. They were tricked badly. Lunatic Su swaggered into the city of the great Tao to trick them. He's too ruthless. I'm scared to death. Ruthless? What a ruthless man. Even the Iron Blood King found it difficult to breathe. He had made up his mind not to become enemies with this demon. Damn it, he had brought a powerful being to the great Tao city and swaggered around, teasing this and that. It was obvious that he was out to trick people. To be able to clamp a mighty being's sacred weapon with 2 fingers. Other than a mighty being, they couldn't think of any other peerless character who could do it. Madman Su, you're too cruel. Many people realized that this guy had left the city in the middle of the night and pretended to be on the run. In fact, he was preparing to trick people. This time, the Han family was truly screwed over. Even if they retreated now, the death of a large number of Divine King would still be a heavy loss for their race. You can't say that Su Yin is ruthless. I feel that he's trying to scam the Han family. As for those old antiques, they're all jumping out to snatch away Su Yan's treasures. Someone sneered and said, moreover, these people were all killed by the Han family. It has nothing to do with Su Yin. Su Yin can't bear this bloody crime. But no matter what, Su Xianren is really ruthless. The whole place was in an uproar. It was a sensation. The entire city of the Great Tao was dead silent. The faces of the North Demon and the others were almost distorted. Damn it, they had almost been tricked to death. If they had played tricks in the dark, they might have been the ones to die. What a joke. How can Su Xianren be so easy to kill? The people of the Ancestral Hall shook their heads and sneered. As Su Yan's old rivals, they had been fighting for decades. They weren't surprised by this scene at all. The Ancestral Hall had fought with Su Yin too many times. Sometimes they were really desperate. Su Yin wasn't a fool. If he could survive until now, how could he not have some skills? He wouldn't take the initiative to put himself in danger. Ever since the Ancestral Hall learned that Su Yin was in the city of the Great Tao and even on the Great Tao battle platform, the higher-ups of the Ancestral Hall directly ordered to ignore Su Yin. They wanted to see what this brat was planning. They had guessed correctly. This brat was tricking them here. Only Divine King Kong Bo and the others, who knew the inside story, did not know what to say. The final trump card had been used, and all the races in the universe had shut their mouths. Who exactly was the fish on the chopping board? Did they not have the slightest idea? Almighty Expert, the white-haired old man holding the great Tao holy weapon, was frightened. His whole body went soft and weak. He felt terrible. He even wanted to beg for mercy. But the Han family had put on such a big show. If he begged now, the Han family would not be able to raise their heads. Buzz, he tried to pull out the great Tao holy weapon and retreat first. But no matter how strong he was, the great Tao holy weapon that was clamped between the prehistoric Big Brother's fingers did not move at all. Senior, the white-haired old man's scalp went numb. He wanted to beg for mercy. But when his gaze fell on the prehistoric Big Brother, he caught a strange light in his eyes. The white-haired old man's spiritual world directly escaped into the blood-red world. It was as if he saw a supreme overlord. His roar shook the 9 heavens and 10 lands. He could easily suppress an entire universe. His power was monstrous. Anyone who dared to spy on him will be destroyed in body and soul. This living fossil of the Han family had only spied on a corner of the prehistoric Big Brother's spiritual will. His soul was directly crushed and extinguished. With a scream, he fell to the ground silently. Before he died, he even felt despair for the Han family. What kind of peerless talent did they provoke? Could it be an ultimate mighty expert? If it was really such a person, then the entire Han family would very likely be overturned by him. He wanted to warn the Han family to quickly retreat and seal themselves so that they would not come out in the era of the prehistoric Big Brother. But he did not even have the chance to shout a word. His soul was directly extinguished. Oh my God, a living fossil of the Han family. Could it be that he was stared to death by him? He is definitely a mighty expert. Su Xianren invited a mighty expert to swagger through the streets of the great Tao city. How many people does he want to kill? How ruthless, how ruthless. The whole place was in an uproar. The group of big shots who harbored ill intentions towards Su Yin were so scared that they ran away. They were really scared to death. A half-step mighty expert of a generation was stared to death by the prehistoric Big Brother. And this was under the condition that the prehistoric Big Brother had a great Tao holy weapon. How could they not be terrified? This shocking scene made everyone's hair stand on end. No one dared to look directly at the prehistoric Big Brother. As for the North Demon and the others, their faces were extremely ugly. They were sure that this was not the old leader of the Zhongyu clan. Could it be that a new mighty expert had appeared in the Zhongyu clan? If that was the case, the consequences would be unimaginable. Xiaohou of the Zhongyu clan was already strong enough, and there was hope for him to become a mighty expert in the future. But now, a mighty expert was protecting Su Yan, who would dare to provoke him in the Chaos Ruins. Mighty expert, he actually has a mighty expert by his side. But I didn't know it all. What a bastard. Xiaoming was furious. His hair danced wildly, and the light in his eyes was frightening. He was not afraid. After all, Xiaoming was very confident. At this moment, he understood. No wonder the old antiques of the Tao Temple did not dare to break the rules. It was because of this mighty expert. Bastard. Xiaoming's eyes widened in anger. He let out a hysterical roar. So what if he is a mighty expert? If he provokes us, even a mighty expert will have to bear a grudge. I will immediately send a message and let the mighty experts of my clan kill their way here and destroy this person. Xiaoming's face was cold. He had made up his mind. Even if it was a mighty expert, he would still try. Su Yan's potential made Xiaoming feel a threat that originated from the future. After all, Su Yan had grasped the primal chaos source gas and had also obtained the universe source liquid. Most importantly, he had obtained the immortal Tao substance. Each of these substances was a rare treasure that could push a person to stand at the peak of their generation. Once the future Su Yan grew up, he would definitely be terrifying. But so what if he was a mighty expert? Their clan had once slaughtered such a supreme expert. But dealing with a mighty expert was a serious matter. They had to make preparations in advance to ensure that they could perfectly kill a mighty expert. After all, if they could not kill a mighty expert, they would have to suffer endless revenge. At that time, Xiaoming would not dare to swagger around. He would have to endure. Ah, Han Ming, you died so miserably. You died so miserably. The entire region was in an uproar. The Han clan had sent 3 half-step almighties for this battle. The other 2 half-step almighties roared furiously, and their eyes turned red. A half-step almighty had been glared to death. This was a great humiliation and also a great loss for their clan. Their mournful roars shook the sky. Their voices made everyone's hair stand on end. So what if he is a mighty expert? My Han family is not afraid of mighty experts. A thunderous voice exploded and reverberated throughout the entire region. The flames of fury of the half-step mighty experts were spewing out. A black-robed old man stared at Su Yan with mournful eyes. His face was full of resentment. Little bastard, you dare to trick my Han family. You don't know life from death. Killing you 10,000 times won't be enough. You old dog, your heart is too abnormal. Why is it that only your Han family is allowed to have a mighty expert, but my clan is not allowed to have a second mighty expert? Su Yan reprimanded loudly. His voice was very shocking and made the faces of the various clans in the ancestral hall turn gloomy. Xiaoming also faintly relaxed a little. Just how strong could a newly advanced almighty expert be? It was nothing to worry about. Little bastard, even if I kill you 10,000 times, it won't be enough to vent my anger. The black-robed old man roared uncontrollably. His entire body was filled with killing intent, and he almost went crazy. Many onlookers were stunned. What was going on? Could it be that the Han family had the ability to fight a mighty expert? The 2 half-step mighty experts of the Han family couldn't have gone crazy, right? Someone suddenly remembered that some time ago, there was a rumor that a mighty expert had appeared in the Han family. Could it be that there's going to be a fight between mighty experts? The Han family had suffered so many casualties. Logically speaking, if there was really a mighty expert in their clan, he would definitely stand up for them. Old turtle, you can't brag like that, Su Yan said with some uncertainty. Huh. Su Yan's somewhat flustered expression was directly captured by the black-clothed old man. His confidence was greatly boosted as he said in a sinister tone, "Little worm, I'm afraid that you haven't seen much of the world. Today, I'll let you see what a great deal is, what a great world is, and what a peak clan is." Just as he finished speaking, an extremely turbulent aura spread out. Boom! In a short period of time, the vast chaos ruins seemed to be trembling. Even the great Tao city was trembling. This city seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. The sky darkened. The universe was covered by magnificent silhouettes one after another. The sea of stars collapsed, and the entire region of life sank. One after another, huge black cracks spread rapidly to the distant world. "Kiki, all of you have to die. So what if you're a mighty expert? My clan has an unparalleled foundation. Even a mighty expert can be killed." The second living fossil of the Han family also stood up and said with a gloomy voice, they were not afraid of mighty experts at all. After all, they had brought with them the foundation of the Han family. This was the strongest foundation that the Han family had accumulated for millions of years. It was also the foundation of the Han family. The ancestors of the Han family had spent endless efforts to find rare treasures in the world to forge this set of ultimate killing arrays that could trap mighty experts. The big scene had arrived. Chapter 995. Wave after wave of tremendous pressure blossomed and spread out majestically, covering one great region after another and causing countless creatures to tremble. What is that? Countless cultivators were frightened. They began to look in the direction of the source, but everything was blurry and they couldn't see the truth clearly. The world was covered by the boundless divine might, reversing the laws of the universe and creating an independent world that shook the four seas. What is that? The divine king was trembling. He only felt that his body was about to collapse. The boundless aura continued to sink. It was as if the eternal starry skies were pressing down. It was going to blast open one great region after another and bury millions and millions of creatures. Terrifying light burned and radiated far and wide. From this moment on, within some terrifying races in the primal chaos ruins, some experts who had been in deep slumber woke up. They opened their eyes and looked into the distance. They were curious. What kind of major event was happening in the direction of Great Tao City? Why was there such a terrifying aura surging? This was a scene of darkness descending. The scene was blurry. One could vaguely see ancient vicious beasts releasing brilliant radiance in the darkness. They tore apart the heavens and sank expanses of the sea of stars. The experts were overwhelmed and their breathing became heavy. What kind of terrifying aura was this? From now on, large groups of experts retreated to Great Tao City to observe nervously. They were afraid of being affected and causing a great disaster. At that time, they couldn't control the situation and would suffer great casualties. Oh! Radiance surged from the land of darkness. 81 beams of light were like 81 evil dragons lying in the sky. They emitted a world-destroying aura that extended far and wide. Has the great killing formation been activated? Some great figures were scared. They were so far away, but they were still suffocated and uncomfortable by the aura of awakening. Was this a peerless killing formation that targeted powerful experts? Even Great Tao City was shining on its own to resist the pressure from the Han family's great killing formation. The city appeared sacred and dignified, illuminating a corner of the darkness. Meanwhile, within a majestic underground palace, the old general beside the old man from the Tao Palace stood up and said in a low voice, "Master, the Han family is likely going to unleash their clan's greatest power. They have accumulated millions of years of power and haven't used it even once. Should we join hands?" Scram! The old man from the Taoist church roared, causing his subordinate to cough up a mouthful of blood and be sent flying. His body almost fell apart as he knelt on the ground in fear. He couldn't figure out how he had angered the old man. The old man from the Taoist temple was about to go mad with anger. Mother of Kerr, this old man had already attacked with all his might, but in the end, the prehistoric big brother had only slapped him once. That was just a warning, but he almost couldn't endure a mere warning. He was sure that this was a peerless almighty. The people of the Han family were definitely courting death. No matter how strong their background was, how could they suppress an extremely powerful being? What a fool's dream. Not to mention the Han family. Even if it was a pinnacle overlord force, it would be impossible for them to kill an almighty just by relying on their foundation. Even Xiaoming's lineage would suffer a setback if they acted in secret. In short, a bloody incident that would shake the universe was about to happen here. He had originally wanted to inform Xiaoming, but he had given up on that idea. At that time, Xiaoming had even urged him to break the rules and seize the immortal Dao material. If he had really done so, the old man from the Dao Palace didn't dare to imagine the severe consequences. Perhaps he would already be dead by now. It definitely wouldn't be as simple as a small warning. What a terrifying, killing formation. Only those who were in the formation knew how perverted this killing formation was. Even with the eye of the universe, Su Yin couldn't see much clearly. In short, the world of darkness was filled with a terrifying deterrent force. This was a place where the forces of heaven and earth converged to form a land of death. Su Yin couldn't help but sigh in admiration. The accumulation of the Han family over millions of years was truly heaven-defying. It was no wonder that the clan could stand on equal footing with the pinnacle clans. This clan's foundation was truly heaven-defying, able to resist the invasion of an almighty expert. Even if the killing formation was set up by the Han family, the formation would be completely different. Its power would rise to another level, and it might really be able to stop an almighty being. Kid, do you know how powerful it is now? The old man in black said in a sinister tone. Unfortunately, it's too late for you to admit defeat now. You evil creature, you caused my clan to activate the strongest killing formation and expend so much of our foundation. I really should turn you into ashes. The two half-almighties of the Han family were faintly discernible in the darkness. Moreover, under the contrast of the formation, their auras were infinitely terrifying and powerful. Moreover, they looked at the prehistoric Big Brother with cold eyes. Although they revered the Almighty, if they couldn't kill the Almighty today, the Han family would definitely be annihilated in the future. You don't even respect the Almighty. I think you're the ones who are courting death. Su Yin rebuked angrily. Haha, a wild kid from a remote village who hasn't seen much of the world. Today, I'll let you see what a true foundation is and what an everlasting clan is. The two living fossils of the Han family roared angrily. The vast, dark area trembled violently, and the sky collapsed and the earth sank. In an instant, the essence of heaven and earth in the vast regions was sucked clean. In a short flash of light, the world changed. It was as deep as an eternal abyss. One by one, the giant formation platforms lit up. There were 81 formation platforms, and each of them was forged from rare materials of the chaos. The strongest inheritance of the mystic sect was engraved in them. This was the work of an ancestor of the Han family, an almighty being and an 8th grade mystic sect grandmaster. He had spent 10,000 years searching for rare treasures in the world before finally forging them. Moreover, 1,000,000 years had passed, and the 81 formation platforms had absorbed the essence of the sun and the moon day by day. They had long transformed under the precipitation of time. At the moment of eruption, it could be said that 81 ferocious beasts were awakening. It was also like 81 ancient dragons were erupting. Terrifying divine energy filled the world and released a dense light of order. Boom! A loud sound echoed in the sky. The 81 formation platforms resonated and collapsed the space-time. Moreover, the 81 formation platforms continued to glow as if they had turned into 81 small universes. They rumbled as they revolved and actually slowly combined together. What a terrifying, killing formation. Even the divine kings were scared. The 81 formation platforms combined into one, outlining the wrinkled shape of a universe. Someone made a bold conjecture that a small piece of cosmos stone must have been smelted inside, because the world that appeared was truly like a universe. There were large stars rotating within, the sun and the moon were arranged, and there were also mountains and rivers. It sunk here, splitting heaven and earth apart, suppressing a corner of the universe, and causing the world to lose its luster. No one would have thought that the Han family's killing formation would be so tyrannical. This clan was fully deserving of being the ancestor of the mystic sect. Suppress for me. The two half-step almighties let out a wild roar. They had unleashed the peak killing formation's most powerful trump card. The moment this fuzzy universe sunk, the stars in the sky exploded and the vault of heaven was shaken, creating a boundless crack. This caused Su Yan's eyes to turn red. If he could obtain this peerless formation platform, he would be able to directly crush a half-step almighty in a single exchange. He really didn't expect the Han family to have such a method. This item was even more precious than a great Dao divine weapon and could protect a clan for a long time. This was the Han family's most prideful trump card. Now, they had unleashed it with all their might. The universe covered the sky and covered the sun, intending to suppress a supreme being. Is a heaven-shaking feat about to happen? The Han family has no supreme being, but they're suppressing a supreme being with their trump card. All living beings were shaken. If such a thing were to happen, it would be a glory and pride that could be passed down for countless years to the Han family. They had suppressed a giant of the world. How could this not cause a great commotion? Boom! The heavens collapsed and the earth caved in. The mountains and seas dried up and the sun and moon fell. The scene of destruction was a blur. Even the divine king couldn't clearly see the layout within. Even the old antiques with their sinister eyes found it difficult to see clearly. This was because as the peerless killing formation operated, it cut off space and time and evolved an independent universe world. It wrapped around each other and suppressed all enemies. Can a supreme being be suppressed? How difficult is it to break a legend? But the Han family is still the Han family. Their ancestors were once incomparably glorious. They once produced an 8th-ranked Supreme Grandmaster and left behind millions of years of accumulation. They might really succeed. The onlookers were all agitated. In this blurry world, nothing could be seen clearly. Some people saw that the Supreme Being's figure was covered, but no one knew that the prehistoric Big Brother was still as calm as ever. The old antiques from the Dao Temple could only sigh with emotion at the Han family's trump card. But it was also a laughable matter. Using him to deal with a peerless genius was a fool's dream. Su Yan realized that the prehistoric Big Brother was about to send out a palm strike to crush the Han family's hopes. Su Yan gave Bamboo Moon a meaningful glance. The intelligent Bamboo Moon pursed her lips and chuckled. Big Brother, why don't you use the 5-colored war flag? After all, if you attack, you'll destroy this supreme treasure. Wouldn't it be a pity if this treasure was destroyed? If you temper it further, its power might rise to another level. The prehistoric Big Brother calmed down a bit. A sparkling and translucent 5-colored war flag floated above his palm. Su Yan secretly gave Bamboo Moon a thumbs up. If the Big Brother smashed the Han family's legendary trump card with a single palm strike, there would be no way for them to continue acting. It would definitely scare off the experts of Chiu Ming's faction. Boom! The 5-colored war flag erupted in an instant, dancing with the heavenly winds. The darkness was torn apart as 5-colored divine light surged. It was as if a 5-layered immortal sword had been unsheathed, tearing apart the darkness. This war flag awoke frighteningly. The surface of the flag, which was woven from the hides of 5 almighties, glowed and burst out with billions of 5-colored divine light. This was the 5-colored war flag personally activated by Big Brother Prehistoric. It was the most powerful Great Dao sacred weapon in the world. It was so powerful that it crushed even the Great Dao. The magnificent flag instantly blocked the blurry universe that was descending from the sky. If we don't attack now, what are we waiting for? We can completely reverse the situation. This is the best time to kill him. Let the 5-colored war flag transform into a killing spear and cooperate with the Han family to kill this almighty expert. In another world, Zhu Yingkai let out a frantic scream. The opportunity she had been waiting for had finally arrived. the Sky Bamboo lineage had also sent a group of important figures. How could the Sky Bamboo lineage sit still after losing their supreme, great Tao sacred weapon? But now, the prehistoric Big Brother had unleashed the five-colored war flag. This meant that he had been shocked by the Han family's trump card. Now was the best time to attack. They might even be able to kill this almighty expert. Chapter 996. Zhu Yincai's words made the three important figures from the Han family struggle in their hearts. They were not here to cause trouble. The Sky Bamboo lineage had no reason to provoke an almighty expert. Furthermore, it was Zhu Yincai who had provoked the almighty first. The almighty expert had taken away the five-colored war flag and did not kill Zhu Yincai and Zhu Yongjia. This was a lesson to them. When the almighty from the Sky Bamboo lineage found out about this, they were furious. Zhu Yincai was truly audacious. She had dared to attack a mysterious, almighty expert. The almighty from the Sky Bamboo lineage reprimanded her severely and asked her to apologize. Even the Sky Bamboo lineage was very sincere and sent three legendary figures. They were prepared to apologize, but this almighty expert was Su Yan's current Tao protector. How could Zhu Yincai accept this? Even the three important figures from the Sky Bamboo lineage did not want to lower their heads to the almighty from the Zhongyu lineage. Now, the Han family's foundation had exploded. Since this mysterious almighty had used the five-colored war flag, it meant that this almighty expert was not strong enough. Only the five-colored war flag could help him resolve this crisis. But, however, some of the half-step almighties hesitated. Although they were confident that they could retrieve the five-colored war flag, if this almighty expert did not die, he would be a huge threat to the Sky Bamboo lineage. Don't hesitate. Zhu Yincai was like a crazy woman as she roared. The Han family has an almighty expert. Even Xiao Ming and Su Yin have a grudge against each other. So many people have died today. If we use the five-colored war flag and destroy the Han family's foundation, wouldn't we be telling the world that the Sky Bamboo lineage is related to the Zhongyu lineage? These words made the three important figures from the Sky Bamboo lineage turn gloomy. That was indeed the case. All right, then let's take the risk. Killing an almighty expert is also beneficial to the Sky Bamboo lineage. The three important figures made up their minds and took out a drop of sparkling blood essence at the same time. Even though this was an almighty expert who had died a long time ago, he was still a top almighty from the Sky Bamboo lineage. The essence blood he left behind was also terrifying enough. Once it was activated, it would be enough to summon back the five-colored war flag. Meanwhile, at the source of the darkness, when the five-colored war flag burst forth and danced in the air, heavenly winds blew and divine light filled the sky. With a whoosh, it blocked the blurry universe that was descending from the sky. At this moment, the entire world was shaking. The city of the Great Path was in a state of shock. The five-colored war banner is a top-notch great Tao sacred weapon of the Sky Bamboo lineage. Am I seeing things? How could the Sky Bamboo's saint weapon of the great Tao be in his hands? Someone roared uncontrollably. He found all of this hard to believe. How could their clan's top divine weapon of the Great Path end up in the hands of their prehistoric big brother? No one believed that the supreme treasure of the Sky Bamboo lineage would be taken away. After all, it was a top-notch Great Path divine weapon. How could it fall into the hands of the prehistoric big brother for no reason? If it had been taken away, then the Tianzhu almighty of that clan would have killed their way over and taken back the five-colored battle flag. After all, this was the supreme treasure of the Sky Bamboo lineage. Could it be that the Sky Bamboo bloodline is closely related to the Buried Region clan? I once heard a rumor that the peerless pearl of their tribe is closely related to Su Yin of the Buried Realm. What? Could it be that the Sky Bamboo lineage and the Buried Region clan want to join forces? There were endless discussions and all sorts of guesses. Only King Kampa and the others knew that the prehistoric big brother had forcibly taken it away. It had nothing to do with their guesses. After all, the Sky Bamboo lineage was in the wrong in this matter. Xiao Ming's face was extremely gloomy. He had always wanted to conquer Bamboo Moon of the Sky Bamboo lineage. He had even viewed her as his exclusive property. If not for her relationship with Han Weiran, he would have long gone to the Sky Bamboo lineage to propose marriage. But what was the situation now? How could the five-colored war banner be in the hands of the prehistoric Big Brother? Even a white-clothed woman with a white veil next to Su Yan. He had always suspected that she was Bamboo Moon. Now, he could almost confirm that this person was definitely Bamboo Moon. They had actually been together all this time. In order to help Su Yan, they had even borrowed the Sky Bamboo lineage's five-colored war banner. V asterisk starred, if I don't kill this kid, how can I? Xiao Ming, stand in front of everyone. Xiao Ming's face was frighteningly gloomy. Killing intent surged in his heart as he roared in his heart. So what if he has the five-colored war banner? Once the experts of my clan arrive, everything will be for naught. The appearance of the five-colored war banner caused an uproar. The two half-almighties of the Han family could no longer sit still. They looked anxious. How could they have a top-notch Great Dao sacred weapon? And it was the five-colored war banner of the Sky Bamboo lineage. The prehistoric Big Brother held the five-colored war banner with one arm. With the huge five-colored war banner, he forcibly blocked the blurry universe descending from the sky. The strongest foundation of the Han family and the five-colored war banner were in a terrifying confrontation. For a moment, the world was bright and dark. Cracks in space-time appeared, and the world rippled with extremely destructive air currents that surged out. Suppress, suppress. The two half-almighties of the Han family roared to the heavens. They activated their clan's great killing formation to the extreme. The 81 formation platforms burned, and the magnificent world that was outlined burned with all its might as it bombarded the five-colored war banner. The sound of the collision reverberated in all directions, deafening everyone's ears. The experts of the Han family despaired. No matter how powerful the killing formation was, it was unable to send the five-colored war banner flying. This was enough to show how terrifying a top-notch Great Dao sacred weapon was. Even ordinary half-almighties were not qualified to refine such an item. If this kind of collision continued, the clan's great killing formation would be severely damaged. At this critical juncture, a drop of brilliant essence blood burned. It was filled with brilliant divine light. From this drop of blood, a majestic figure vaguely walked out and waved at the five-colored war banner. My clan's supreme treasure returned. It was a shocking scene. The three great figures of the Sky Bamboo lineage worked together to sacrifice the ancestral blood and summon the five-colored war banner. Many people were stunned. What was going on? Could it be that the five-colored war banner of the Sky Bamboo lineage had been stolen? Xiao Ming believed that this treasure was given to Su Yan by Bamboo Moon without the clan's permission. In any case, under the call of the ancestral blood, the five-colored war banner shone with divine light. It trembled violently, wanting to break free from the hands of the prehistoric Big Brother and return to the clan. Su Yan's expression was cold. This group of clansmen had brought this upon themselves. They cannot be blamed for this. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the prehistoric Big Brother. He directly grasped the trembling five-colored war banner and used his supreme strength to disperse all of the spiritual imprints within the five-colored war banner. Within the burning drop of essence blood, the indistinct supreme figure clearly distorted everything. It was as if he had come back to life. His eyes flashed with a trace of horror. An enemy that even the ancestral spirit is afraid of. The three old antiques of the Sky Bamboo lineage were shocked. A terrifying will of the Great Path came from the essence blood, telling them to quickly retreat. There is no doubt that this drop of essence blood contained the spiritual will of an almighty being. Now, it had been awakened by the prehistoric Big Brother. The three great cultivators were so frightened that their faces changed. They might have gotten into big trouble. They turned around and ran. But could they escape? The prehistoric Big Brother's withered eyes emitted a cold light. It pierced through time and space and cut apart the primordial spirits of the three great figures of the Sky Bamboo lineage who were escaping one after another. This vicious person attacked again. The fierce light in his eyes shattered the three great cultivators of the Sky Bamboo lineage. The hearts of the heroes in the Great Path City could not bear it. Wasn't this too outrageous? What level was this cultivator at? Oh no! Zhu Yingkai was so frightened that she fell to the ground. She almost rolled and crawled for her life. Not only was the five-colored war flag not taken away, but the three great figures of the clan had also been killed. Zhu Yingkai was so frightened that she was about to cry. How was she going to explain this when she returned? Who could tell me what happened? This drop of blood is obviously here to take away the five-colored war flag. Logically speaking, such a powerful Great Path sacred weapon must have a seal from the sky bamboo lineage. Could it be that the seal cannot be activated to take back the five-colored war flag? Many old monsters in the Great Path City were frightened, especially the essence blood of the sky bamboo lineage's ancestral spirit. It rushed into the sky and disappeared without a trace. Is there a need to ask? This treasure was taken by him. The sky bamboo lineage sent people to take it away, but they were killed instead. The might of an almighty is really not to be blasphemed. Someone said emotionally, do the people of the burial region not want to live anymore? How dare they provoke the sky bamboo lineage? I feel that something big is going to happen. Look, the vast land of darkness was pierced through by the five-colored divine light. The prehistoric big brother reached out a palm and grabbed at the two half-step almighties of the Han family, who were in charge of the killing formation. Bastard, I don't believe that I can't stop you. Burn the strongest foundation of my clan and destroy all enemies. The two living fossils of the Han family roared with red eyes. This was a method of mutual destruction. They activated the strongest foundation of the killing formation. The outline of the universe was set ablaze, releasing a terrifying brilliance and fiercely smashing down. The five-colored war flag's radiance was temporarily suppressed. The terrifying embryonic form of the universe rumbled and was filled with a supreme divine power that could crush the universe. It shook continuously and wanted to shatter the prehistoric big brother. However, the prehistoric big brother's palm instantly blasted forward. The palm was boundless and made the corner of the universe sink. It could be said that the hand of the heavens had reached inside. Impossible! The two living fossils of the Han family despaired. The Han family's foundation had been broken through. The prehistoric big brother's bronze palm was even more frightening than the five-colored war flag. What kind of enemy had they provoked? Moreover, the prehistoric big brother's palm didn't press down. The energy contained within made their primordial spirits almost extinguish. They were desperate and terrified. Only after coming into close contact could they understand how strong the prehistoric big brother was. They couldn't even withstand the other party's might. This meant that the other party wasn't a newly ascended almighty, but a supreme overlord. I hate it. They screamed miserably. In the end, they couldn't escape their misfortune. The two half-step almighty's figures exploded. The world was excessively quiet. The vast region was riddled with holes and fragmented. Enormous formation platforms also fell down one after another. Many cracks appeared on them, and the damage was great. However, they were still heavy and smashed into the mountains and rivers. A strand of suffocating aura swept across the place. Was this the end? The Han family's foundation had collapsed, and three half-step almighties had died. This was equivalent to destroying half of their clan. A large number of Han family experts fled for their lives in despair. Their confidence had been completely destroyed. Only this man with messy hair stood tall between heaven and earth. His figure seemed unreachable. Chapter 997. The foundation that the Han family was so proud of had crumbled in front of a mighty figure. It could even be said that not a single ripple could be seen. All the experts present were dumbfounded. The blood-stained mountains and rivers were filled with the aura of death. The atmosphere was so stifling that it made one's hair stand on end. The entire Great Dao City was silent. Some people thought that the Han family was finished. They had really hit a wall this time. Half of the clan had collapsed, although the outside world said that the Han family had a mighty figure overseeing it. There were also people who guessed that the Han family's mighty figure was an old antique with a limited lifespan. Otherwise, He would have come personally to demand an explanation. Reality also proved that up until now, the Han family's supreme expert still hadn't appeared. Moreover, the Han family's losses were disastrous. Even their clan-suppressing killing formation was destroyed. This couldn't help but make them tremble in fear from the bottom of their hearts. This was the consequence of provoking a supreme expert. In the vast chaotic ruins, news continued to spread and the commotion continued. Some powerful cultivators who were watching the battle were terrified. The five-color battle banner is the most precious treasure of the Sky Bamboo lineage. How could it have fallen into the hands of the Zong clan's almighty? If they didn't have the five-color battle banner, the Han family wouldn't have lost so miserably. The Sky Bamboo lineage has also lost several important figures. Could it be that the clan's five-colored war banner is going to be lost? The mighty figure from the burial region is too bold. Is he not afraid of angering the Sky Bamboo lineage? That clan has a supreme mighty figure overseeing it. Isn't the burial region afraid of provoking a calamity? Many of the leaders of the ancient clans were shocked. They felt that the battle was not over yet. The Sky Bamboo lineage would definitely come and demand an explanation. Almighties were high and mighty, but the Sky Bamboo lineage was not to be trifled with. If a top-notch Great Tao sacred weapon was lost, it would definitely be recovered. Once the mighty figure from the Sky Bamboo lineage crossed over, the battle here would be extremely terrifying. It would ignite a bloodbath between giants. However, all of this was related to Su Yan. However, in the vast chaotic ruins, the various ancient clans and aristocratic families did not know that the Sky Bamboo lineage was currently in an uproar. A drop of progenitor's blood streaked through the sky and rumbled down, falling into the ancestral ground of the Sky Bamboo lineage. This drop of blood appeared in the sky, emitting waves of prehistoric aura. Even after so many years, this drop of blood was still powerful beyond compare. It was filled with the terrifying pressure of a progenitor, causing the entire Sky Bamboo lineage to fall into chaos. The primogenitor has appeared. The ancestral ground of the heavenly bamboo lineage was isolated from the rest of the universe. Terrified voices reverberated throughout the vast expanse of space. Countless experts knelt on the ground and trembled. They had no idea what had happened to make the ancestral blood awaken and even release terrifying flames of fury. Our descendants are unfilial. I hope that the primordial spirit of the ancestor can calm your anger for now. Zhu Yuanqing was trembling as he knelt down and kowtowed. He was the grand elder of the Sky Bamboo lineage, a peak expert among the half-step almighties. He possessed remarkable abilities and was only a small step away from the realm of almighties. He was also favored by the Sky Bamboo lineage's almighties, believing that Zhu Yuanqing had a chance of stepping into the realm of almighties in this lifetime. In the vast ancestral ground of the Sky Bamboo lineage, a drop of blood appeared in the sky, filled with supreme bloodline pressure. Tens of millions of clansmen knelt down and kowtowed. The drop of blood sometimes transformed into a stalwart figure, and sometimes into a drop of supreme blood essence. This bloodline pressure that penetrated deep into the marrow made the experts of the Sky Bamboo lineage confirm that this was the manifestation of the progenitor's blood. This drop of blood rushed straight into the depths of the ancestral ground, tearing open a chaotic zone. This awakened the group of living fossils of the Sky Bamboo lineage that had been slumbering in the chaos. Their status and prestige in the clan were extremely shocking, and they were a group of old people. But now they were trembling in fear. Even the legendary figure of the Sky Bamboo lineage, the Sky Bamboo Almighty, stood out. He was so terrifying that he was peerless. He sat cross-legged in the chaos, his aura ancient and filled with the aura of time. Although the Sky Bamboo Almighty had an extremely long lifespan, he was still a supreme almighty. As his aura recovered, time seemed to have stopped. The progenitor's blood and immortal spirit has alarmed the Sky Bamboo Almighty. The entire Sky Bamboo lineage was filled with the supreme aura of the Sky Bamboo Almighty. This made the entire Sky Bamboo lineage feel as if they were facing a great enemy. What exactly happened that caused the Sky Bamboo Almighty to appear? Boom! The chaotic zone trembled continuously as the sound of the great Tao exploded. It was a berating voice that sounded like thunder from the nine heavens. What? The Sky Bamboo Almighty felt uneasy. He had heard some terrifying news. This blob of progenitor's blood had a bit of spiritual will. It said that it had once seen a similar person who was still alive in the present era. However, its memories of this person were blurry. This meant that this person was too terrifying. It could not remember anything related to this person. How is this possible? The Sky Bamboo Almighty felt a headache coming on. A person who had lived for so long was still alive. He found it hard to believe. Even if this person was still alive, how could such a person appear in the world? This went against the universe's rules, and even more against his understanding. Living in the present era? Could it be the progenitor of the burial region? Or is it related to the celestial quartz remnant race? The Sky Bamboo Almighty was bewildered. Legend has it that the burial region's remnant race has affected the world. Is that why the race is fine? Could the legend be true? Actually, the Sky Bamboo Almighty did not know what had happened in the city of the Great Tao. However, he was now guessing that the person the progenitor was talking about might be related to the burial region's remnant race. Boom! The chaos seemed to collapse as the progenitor's blood burned. The ancient figure within shouted loudly, trying to transmit an important message. However, no matter how loud his voice was, it was as if he had spoken thousands of years ago. It cannot be transmitted. This caused the Sky Bamboo Almighty's expression to change. The progenitor's blood's words went against some terrifying matter. His words could not be transmitted in this realm. It was related to the universe and rules. This was a heavenly secret that could not be divulged. The Sky Bamboo Almighty was stunned. What was it that the progenitor urgently wanted to tell him? Yet, it could not be transmitted. In the end, the progenitor's blood became more and more blurry. The Sky Bamboo Almighty wanted to protect the progenitor's primordial spirit, but he could not do so with his cultivation. The progenitor's blood had already gone against the universe's rules. This was due to his strength when he was alive. The aura of his prehistoric big brother had awakened his dormant memories. What is the progenitor trying to tell me? The Sky Bamboo Almighty's expression was uncertain. The progenitor's blood had completely dissipated, but he was still uneasy. He immediately gathered Zhu Yuanqing and the others to inquire about some matters. Zhu Yuanqing honestly explained why the progenitor's blood was taken out. He did not know what had happened to make the progenitor's blood manifest. He did not even bring the five-colored war flag with him. Bastard! Under the Sky Bamboo Almighty's fury, Zhu Yuanqing and the others trembled. The blood in their bodies churned, and their powerful corporeal bodies were about to collapse. This was a peerless Almighty. It was truly frightening. As the most powerful expert of the Sky Bamboo lineage, the Sky Bamboo Almighty roared. A mere divine king dares to make a move on Almighty. Who gave her the guts? Zhu Yuanqing guessed. It was very likely that Zhu Yingkai was not convinced after finding out that the mysterious person was Su Yan. She did not want to lower her head and apologize, which infuriated the prehistoric big brother once again. He voiced out his guess, which infuriated the Sky Bamboo Almighty. The Almighty shouted, "Throw her into the land of darkness and never let her out." The entire Sky Bamboo lineage was uneasy. The land of primal chaos was exploding with thunderous sounds. What was it that made the peerless Almighty so angry? Also, why had the progenitor's blood manifested? In short, Zhu Yuanqing and the others were scolded harshly. It was their first time seeing a Sky Bamboo Almighty angry. These people were so frightened that their legs went soft. This matter was a little ridiculous. What had happened? Where did Su Yin find such a deity? For the Sky Bamboo Almighty to personally order Zhu Yingkai to be thrown into the land of darkness. This was the most severe form of torture. This matter was serious. If it was not handled well, it might bring disaster to their own clan. As for the source of this matter, in the Great Destruction region, the Han family's foundation was shattered. This caused some of the spectating experts to fall into silence. The buried region clan had produced a second Almighty. The clan's old leader had once broken through the ancestral heaven's ancestral court and destroyed an ancestral hall Almighty. He was hailed by the experts of the cultivation world as a peerless figure among Almighties. The buried region clan had produced two Almighty experts. Moreover, the younger generation was led by Su Xianren. Was this declining clan about to rise again? This matter made the ancestral hall uneasy. The changes in the Milky Way galaxy, the changes in the progenitor, the might of the old leader, and now the prehistoric Big Brother had stood out. This was enough to show that the buried region clan had developed too quickly in recent years. Even Su Yin of the clan was becoming more and more courageous as he fought. It was only a matter of time before the Divine King became stronger. Once Su Yin of the clan matured, with the backing of these two Almighties, the future Su Yin would most likely dominate a region in the primal chaos ruins power struggle. Haha, I'm rich. Now, Su Yin was happily collecting the huge array platforms. There was a total of 81 array platforms. Although there were cracks, there was still hope for these 81 array platforms to be repaired. This item made everyone's eyes red with envy. This was a priceless item that had protected the Han family for so long. Now, it was snatched away by Su Yin. I hate it. The fleeing experts of the Han family looked back. They were so angry that their bodies were trembling. They were about to go crazy. The Han family's #1 treasure, the Han family's #1 foundation, and even the Han family's great Dao Saint weapon had all been lost. They were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. Even the #1 expert of the Han family's younger generation had been beaten up on the battle platform. Some people felt that the Han family was really finished. They had lost the various methods that they were so proud of. They were afraid that they would withdraw from the stage of the top forces. Su Yin. Suddenly, an ancient war chariot rumbled over, carrying a figure across the sky. A large crack was plowed through the void. The ancient war chariot shone with a terrifying aura, shaking the mountains and rivers. Su Yan's eyes were cold as he stared at the person in the ancient war chariot. Su Yan, you demon. You killed so many of our fellow Taoists, and you still want to take away the Han family's #1 foundation. Xiaoming looked down from above. He sat in the ancient war chariot like an emperor patrolling the sky and looking down on his subjects. His voice was cold. Today I will enforce justice on behalf of the heavens. I will get rid of you, demon, and give justice to the Han family. Chapter 998. An ancient war chariot tore through the sky and rumbled over, crushing the void. A figure stood in the middle of the chariot, full of boundless divine might. It swept through all directions and shook the starry sky of the universe. It's Xiaoming, war god. Could it be that the forbidden zone behind Xiaoming is going to make a move against the almighty experts of the burial realm? Many people were shocked. Why would Xiaoming come out at this time? His strength was unquestionable. He was a peerless king of this generation and was known as a future almighty expert. Such an outstanding talent had boundless potential. No one had expected that Xiaoming would directly appear on the stage after the Han family's crushing defeat. He looked down on everyone like an emperor surveying the heavens. His divine might crushed all creatures in the universe, making them tremble and want to kneel down and submit. The older generation was shocked. Xiaoming's confidence was too great today. Su Yin had a powerful expert by his side, but Xiaoming's attitude was so unyielding and domineering. It was enough to prove that the forbidden zone behind him was really going to make a move. It seems like a great battle is about to break out. Some people felt that the Sky Bamboo and Xiaoming lineages would also join in. With just one almighty from the burial realm, it was impossible for them to withstand the supreme pressure from the two clans. Perhaps even the almighty would have to die here today. There were also many fanatical eyes that looked at the figure standing in the ancient war chariot. At this moment, Xiaoming's divine might was boundless. In this ruined landscape, he released a unique divine light. Moreover, as he breathed, the heaven and earth shook. His chest emitted a thunderous sound. This was a terrifying deterrent force that swept over in a grandiose manner. In the end, it pressed down on Su Yan's body, forcing him to submit. However, no matter how strong the wind and rain were, Su Yan remained unmoved. Vague aura of deities and demons spread out around his body. Coldness beamed out of his eyes as he sneered. "You call me a fiend? Xiaoming, you scoundrel. Why didn't you show up earlier or later? You just had to show up when the Han family suffered a crushing defeat." Su Yan's final words were like a thunderclap that spread throughout the vast mountains and rivers, shook the heavens and the earth, and contained an icy, cold, killing intent. The Han family cultivators, who had already fled far away, on hearing Su Yan's words, were so angry that they almost spurted out blood. At the same time, they felt that Su Yan's words were correct. All this time, the Han family had done a lot for Xiaoming and helped him a lot. Even the family's resources were tilted towards Xiaoming, completely treating him as the clan's son-in-law. However, at the moment when the Han family was in danger and when Han Weiran was being humiliated, if Xiaoming had a strong stance, the Han family wouldn't have suffered such a crushing defeat, and half of their empire wouldn't have collapsed. "You're about to die, and you're still trying to sow discord here." Xiaoming looked down at Su Yan and said coldly, "You're just a little heavenly deity. I can crush you as easily as crushing a bug. Don't think that I, Xiaoming, can't keep you in check today just because you have a mighty figure by your side." When these words were spoken, a terrifying aura was emitted. It swept over from all directions, and the pressure was even more shocking. It could be said that a vast ocean had sunk and filled the sky. It covered the earth and the universe, causing Su Yan's figure to be on the verge of collapsing in a blur. Xiaoming was full of confidence because the clan's mighty figures had already appeared and were guarding in secret. As long as the prehistoric big brother dared to move, the clan's mighty figures would stand out and beat him to death. The Life Forbidden Zone was indeed a life forbidden zone. Its foundation was truly unfathomable, and it had shocking methods to keep the mighty figures in check. Xiaoming also hated Su Yan to the bone. Right now, he wanted to directly and cruelly suppress Su Yan in front of everyone in the world, and even smoothly obtain the thing he wanted. Ha ha ha! Su Yan faced the sky and laughed. His figure was blazing as he blocked Xiaoming's pressure. His eyes were full of mockery as he said, "The great Xiaoming, the divine king of this generation, you're quite awe-inspiring right now. I really want to see just how you're going to crush me. You thing that won't shed tears until you see the coffin, kneel down for me." Xiaoming loudly shouted. He stood in the ancient chariot like an emperor patrolling the heavens. The energy rippling from his body suddenly surged by a large amount. At this moment, the sun and moon were silent. The heaven and earth dimmed and lost their brilliance. There was only one figure in this broken great domain. He was full of supreme divine might and suppressed all life in the universe. Everything was collapsing in a blur. The invisible domain emitted by the light had already affected the mountains and rivers, and the great earth began to silently be annihilated. What an astonishing scene this was. Xiaoming's anger seemed to have caused the world to return to a barbaric state. Everything was about to be suppressed. This kind of surging divine power deeply shocked every single one of them. Xiaoming forcibly affected a great domain of life and suppressed the light of all life. He was like a king among kings. Terrifying fluctuations pervaded the air as if he wanted to cause the world to fall into destruction. Boom! Everything exploded. The scene was quite frightening. Xiaoming had already erupted. That terrifying aura was like a vast ocean bursting through a dike. It contained a conviction that could suppress all things and was irreversible. Xiaoming has taken action so powerfully. He must have the support of a great power behind him. How can Su Xianren resist? Yes, if this continues, Su Yan will inevitably be suppressed. Although he has the humanoid puppet and the strength of the Divine King, He can't compare to Qiuming at all. The entire place was in an uproar. At this moment, Qiuming was already quite powerful. Although he had yet to activate the battle strength of his peak era, an absolute king was still an absolute king. Even the universe was submerged. Su Yan's figure was so blurry that it was almost impossible to see clearly. How powerful is Su Yan's puppet? The Iron Blood King secretly pondered. Qiuming was impatient to obtain the puppet. Perhaps it could provide Su Yan with extremely powerful fighting strength. But the result made the Iron Blood King's eyes turn red. That indistinct region was full of destructive power. Within it, there was a vague figure shining with boundless power and blazing brilliance. In the end, he erupted. What kind of scene was that? A strand of demonic god's power was enraged. During the process of awakening, the silent sun and moon in the sky trembled. Mountains and rivers collapsed, and the indistinct world trembled. Dong! Su Yan's aura became more and more terrifying. His king's aura erupted, and his figure was dazzling. He rose from the ground of destruction, and in an instant, he waved his fist, which contained the king's aura that could swallow 1,000,000 miles. The indistinct light of destruction that filled the sky surged upwards. They were all struck by this fist and rushed towards the ancient chariot. Courting death, Qiuming was furious. His divine might shook the four seas, and his voice shook the heaven and earth. It was full of incomparably terrifying majesty. His aura was completely different now, terrifying to the extreme. Under his furious roar, tens of thousands of mountains exploded, the boundless territory rippling with his unparalleled heavenly might, crushing the mountains, rivers, and earth into scattered ashes and scattered smoke. What kind of terrifying strength was this? Was this still the divine king? It was so terrifying that all living beings had to prostrate themselves in worship. Su Yan is finished. He attacked Qiuming and angered a peerless king. Some people felt that although Su Yan was indeed terrifying, he was still somewhat weak. He was simply not enough to look at in front of Qiuming. Qiuming's divine might engulfed the heaven and earth. Under the fury of a peerless king, the sun and moon were destroyed and the primal chaos surged. His might suppressed the entire area, and all the sources of divine energy flowing towards him collapsed. Moreover, the ancient chariot carried Qiuming and drove towards Su Yan. His palm struck out decisively, wanting to slap Su Yan to death. Many people felt that this was not a battle of the same level at all. The difference in realm between the two was too great. Although he had external assistance, Su Yan was not the divine king in the end. The divine might suffuse the sky and was so heavy that it was enough to make all the kings submit. Everything seemed to have been imprisoned, including Su Yan's battle constitution. However, Su Yan's physical body was emitting a rumbling sound under this peerless oppression. The uncanny craftsmanship series of puppets was a rare supreme treasure. Under Qiuming's suppression, it released an ominous glint and forcibly tore through the sky. Su Yan roared at the sky. His eyes were wide open and his long black hair was dancing wildly. His roar shook the heaven and earth. It was as if a creature slumbering in the distant era was awakening. The heaven and earth were shaking and the void was collapsing. Countless cracks appeared in the void. All of this originated from a single person who seemed to have fused perfectly with the puppets. His figure was glowing like the eye of a demonic sea condensed over the endless years, releasing a tyrannical might. It was an astonishing manifestation. Everyone present was in disbelief. Su Yan's fist punched out and struck Qiuming's palm. The fist and palm collided. There was no scene of flesh and blood exploding like everyone had imagined. Instead, Su Yan's aura was tyrannical and overbearing, forcibly blocking Qiuming's power. This fist caused all the experts to pale. How could something so ridiculous happen? Although Su Yan had borrowed the power of the puppets, he was facing Qiuming. Could it be that the uncanny craftsmanship series of puppets were so powerful that they could push Su Yan's battle prowess to the level of a supreme king? The North Demon and the others found it hard to believe. They felt that this defied common sense. In any case, the cultivator who had brought out the puppets to auction had suffered a great loss. The value of this item was more than 70 to 80,000 kilograms of chaotic precious material. Its value was enough to be considered heaven-defying. It cannot be measured with money. Bastard, be suppressed from me. Xiao Ming roared angrily. His palm glowed like a condensed universe, releasing the power of the great Tao that reached the heavens and the earth, hacking at Su Yan. Kill! Su Yan let out a long roar. His fist glowed as he decisively attacked, crashing into Xiao Ming's palm. This was not a single collision, but a total of 3 great collisions. The bombardment left the area riddled with holes. The primal chaos collapsed, and energy fluctuations surged violently, splitting the sky. With each collision, Xiao Ming felt as if he had struck a wall of gods and demons. It was difficult to break through. This left him shocked and angry. The legends were true. The uncanny craftsmanship series of puppets was a work of art that surpassed the heavens. It could be perfectly fused with the puppets. He felt that Su Yan could not display the power of the puppets. If Xiao Ming could be repaired, it would definitely be a supreme killing weapon. Perhaps it could push Su Yan's battle prowess to the level of being able to contend with a supreme being. Boom! The final collision caused the entire area to explode. Xiao Ming exploded with full power, shaking the wall of gods and demons. Su Yan's body cracked, but the cracks were very small, almost invisible. This meant that the injury was not serious. Su Yan was injured, and his body was bathed in blood. However, he laughed. Ha ha! Xiao Ming, you're nothing more than this. The Divine King can't even suppress me, a divine realm expert, in one move. What are you still doing? I think you should find a piece of tofu and kill yourself. Since you are in a hurry to die, I will fulfill your wish. Xiao Ming's heart was burning with anger. A huge hand covered the sky and slammed down fiercely. What a boastful thing. Su Yan's figure soared into the sky. He said to the prehistoric Big Brother, lend me the great Tao's sacred weapon. I want to kill Xiao Ming. Elder, please kill him. So what if he is a supreme being? The supreme being that you respect as a god is just a dish in front of our race. Our race has the supreme means to destroy the supreme being. When the time comes, you will not even have time to tremble. Xiao Ming said disdainfully. He had been guarding against the prehistoric Big Brother and had not used his full strength to fight Su Yan. It seemed that if he did not kill the supreme being now, he would not be able to suppress Su Yan in peace. Brothers, there is no more today, but I have to announce. There will be an explosive update on the 15th. It has been a long time, so long that I can't even remember how long it has been since I last gave everyone a big update. I have been holding it in for so long that I almost peed. Finally, I can't hold it in anymore. On the 15th, I welcome everyone to support Zongheng Chinese Network. In addition, I have to announce that the plot in the next few days will be very abnormal. Everyone, please be prepared. The blue sky is gone. Chapter 999. A cold, murderous aura swept through the entire place. Xiao Ming's heart was filled with rage. Although he had borrowed the power of the puppet from the supernatural craftsmanship series, Xiao Ming was still unable to take down a puny Su Yan. This made him feel very embarrassed. How strong is this puppet? As for the spectators in the distance, their jaws almost dropped from shock. What kind of person was Xiao Ming? He was a top figure amongst the kings. However, Su Yan was currently relying on a puppet and was actually able to continue clashing with Xiao Ming. Although Su Yan was injured, the strength of this puppet made the North Demon and the others jealous. None of them had expected this puppet to be so strong. Even the appraisers at the auction had dark expressions. When they had inspected the humanoid puppet in the past, it only had the strength of the Divine King's ordinary standard. However, when the puppet fused with Su Yan, it unleashed a terrifying combat strength. It pushed its strength to the level of the king of gods and demons. It was so strong that it was suffocating. They had never expected this humanoid puppet to be so strong. If it could recover the combat strength of a top-notch king, its value would not be as simple as 70,000 to 80,000 kilograms. If it was auctioned, it would definitely cost hundreds of thousands of chaos treasures. It might even be more terrifying. Don't forget that Su Yin could rely on the puppet to clash head-on with Xiaoming. How many resources would it take to nurture a Xiaoming? This made the peak leader's hearts beat faster. It was an astronomical number. Don't forget that this was a broken puppet of the Divine King. However, if it was repaired, wouldn't it be? The more they thought about it, the more shocked they became. It was no wonder that Xiaoming wanted this item. Once it was repaired and he fused with the puppet, his combat strength would be monstrous. Wouldn't he be able to kill a half-step Almighty? He might even be able to survive in the hands of an Almighty. Xiaoming had long been jealous. He was almost certain that this was a puppet at the Almighty level. It was a treasure of the supernatural craftsmanship series. As long as he could obtain it, its value would be unimaginable. This was precisely the reason why the restricted region behind him had taken action. Didn't this mean that as long as the puppet was repaired, Xiaoming would become the king of the younger generation? He would control the rise and fall of the great earth, possessing unrivaled heavenly might in his generation. Not only Xiaoming, but many others were also itching to make a move. Human-shaped puppet, immortal Tao substance. These two great rare objects were grasped by Su Yin. If he could obtain them, then that would be the same as walking on a heaven-reaching great Tao. Boom! The burning greed and desire that filled the sky was now crushed into pieces by this sudden aura. It was as if a dreamland had shattered. What greeted them was the aura of purgatory, making them feel as if they had fallen into an icy cavern. They shivered, goosebumps rising all over their bodies. Strand after strand of air that dominated the universe rose from the ends of heaven and earth, forcefully crushing the great Tao. Oh my God! The Divine King's hair stood on end. This was a supreme aura that enveloped the heavens and the earth, causing the great Tao city to tremble slightly. This city was glowing on its own, resisting the pressure born between heaven and earth. A mighty expert. Someone's voice began to tremble, and his eyes were filled with fear. On this day, a battle for supremacy had still occurred. Once a mighty expert participated in the battle, perhaps it would break through several vast regions and cause a catastrophe. When mighty experts fought, even the Taoist temple would find it difficult to mediate. When existences like them were truly enraged, there was nothing they could not do. They could easily kill millions of lives, shatter the heavens and crack the earth, and cause gods to weep and ghosts to weep. Ha! Xiaoming was laughing, a cruel laugh. If he could kill a mighty expert today, then his race's divine might would be even greater, and he, Xiaoming, would have more confidence. This is a mighty expert. Su Yan's body and mind were about to shatter because the killing intent was directed here. A mighty expert could kill an enemy from millions of miles away with a single thought, unless one could confuse the heavenly secrets and deceive the mighty expert's senses. The air currents that drifted from the distant world rapidly expanded, covering the sky and the sun. The entire dilapidated mighty expert was covered. The energy waves were vast, reaching the heavens, shaking the world, and continued to spread. It actually drowned one large region after another, covering vast expanses of the magnificent starry sky. When a mighty expert appeared, the world was imprisoned, and time seemed to have entered a state of stagnation. It was a despairing scene. The entire world was silent, and only the moving figure of a giant dragon was imprinted in their hearts. It was infinitely tall. Finally, this figure appeared, and its body collapsed the heavens, crushing the universe's great Tao with a rumbling sound. The figure was huge, and when he looked down, the entire region was in the process of being sealed. Only the living beings in the great Tao city were unaffected. However, the experts in the city could feel that layer after layer of unparalleled sealing power was affecting the great Tao city, dimming its luster. This was just energy suppression. If the mighty figure targeted the great Tao city, perhaps the entire great Tao city would be sealed. The protector of the sealed heaven region has made his move. The whole place was in an uproar. The force behind Qiuming was called the Sealed Heaven region. It was an independent region. To be precise, this race occupied an incomplete universe and sealed the sky and the earth, turning the incomplete universe into a small world. Over time, it was called the Sealed Heaven region. Why was it called the Sealed Heaven region? In fact, there was another saying. The ancient heavenly art cultivated by this race was called the Sealed Heaven ancient scripture. Legend had it that once this scripture was cultivated, it could seal the sky and the earth. It was the world's most supreme heavenly art. Right now, from this figure that appeared, it could be seen that his appearance made the entire ruined great region enter a seal. There were some experts outside the city who were trembling, feeling as if they were being crushed by millions of mountains, their lives about to be sealed, reaching their end. Even the half-step mighty experts were shocked, feeling as if their flames of life were about to be extinguished and their lifespans were about to wither. This was an astonishing influence. Even the grass and trees withered and withered. This was not only the energy of sealing the sky and the earth, but also a tyrannical order that affected all life in the universe. What a terrifying power. The world is changing under its influence. I've finally seen the terror of the Sealed Heaven region's supreme art. An almighty expert's aura involuntarily leaked out and has already affected an entire region of life, causing it to wither away. This is a supreme art that can seal the sky and the earth. The Sealed Heaven region has also killed almighty experts in the past. It seems like this protector of the Sealed Heaven region wants to use the power of his supreme art to forcibly seal the almighty expert's heaven-defying source of life. Some people were discussing, and some people directly said, a battle between powerhouses only takes a moment. If the almighty experts really fight to the death, I'm afraid victory and defeat will be decided in just a few rounds. The Sealed Heaven region's strength is unquestionable, but I don't know how strong the almighty expert of the Buried Heaven region is. Although the Han family's foundation had collapsed in front of the prehistoric Big Brother, no one could clearly see his true body's greatest fighting strength. A declining race has no qualifications to block the path of my Sealed Heaven region. A cold and indifferent voice emerged, spreading throughout the vast region. This cold voice exploded in the ears of all living beings, directly penetrating their souls. This was the voice of the almighty expert of the Sealed Heaven region, and it was domineering and overbearing. This race was noble as a life forbidden zone, and they had created an incomplete universe as their ancestral land. They were the most powerful force in the universe, and there were more than one or two almighty experts in this race. But the Buried Heaven region? The Sealed Heaven region didn't attach importance to them. Although this race had a peak almighty expert, the Sealed Heaven region also had one. However, this domineering voice kept echoing, and there was no response for a long time. Qiuming's face suddenly became gloomy. The person who had stood up was his protector, and also the protector of the Sealed Heaven region. However, Qiuming's protector had come to denounce the prehistoric Big Brother, but the prehistoric Big Brother hadn't responded at all. Many of the spectators had goosebumps all over their bodies. Was he looking down on an almighty being? How dare you? An enraged voice rang out. Qiuming's protector's eyes widened in anger, and beams of light shot out from his pupils, splitting the skies. Moreover, as he breathed in and out, his momentum was even more terrifying than a raging sea. It was like a tsunami crashing into the earth, extremely powerful. The entire dilapidated region instantly turned gloomy to the extreme. This was because the rich life essence that drifted through the great domain had been cleanly absorbed by Qiuming's protector as the race's almighty expert sealed the skies. This caused his body to become infinitely large, as if he had become one with the entire broken domain. Some people cried out miserably. They were no longer in Great Tao City, and under the influence of the Sealed Heaven ancient scripture, their lives began to wither away, and their blood vitality began to decline. It was an extremely bloody scene. Xiaoming's Tao protector was extracting the divine essence of heaven and earth with every breath he took. This was the effect of his anger, which caused the world to change. The plants withered, the mountains cracked, and the vast oceans were about to evaporate. What was an almighty expert? This was an almighty expert. I can't take it anymore. Apart from the creatures in Great Tao City, all the creatures that hadn't left the broken domain were prostrating themselves on the ground, prostrating themselves in worship towards Xiaoming's protector. They were begging for mercy, praying that the almighty expert would spare their lives. However, under the anger of an almighty expert, a sea of blood would flow. He definitely wouldn't pay attention to these weak creatures. Only Su Yin and Bamboo Moon stood behind the prehistoric Big Brother. They were unharmed. However, Su Yin could clearly sense that the world was changing. It was filled with an unparalleled pressure, and even time and space were severed. Cracks appeared on the Great Tao, and Great Tao fragments scattered down. This great domain was directly severed, and the skies were sealed. With every breath Xiaoming's protector took, it trembled. What a terrifying Xiaoming's protector. Can Master withstand him? Since someone from the sealed heaven region has come, he must have brought with him a supreme method to kill an almighty expert. King Competern Pale. This was too frightening. A great domain was severed, and the skies were sealed. They seemed to see the prehistoric Big Brother being destroyed along with it. However, no matter how frightening Shueguan's protector's energy was, when it came into contact with the prehistoric Big Brother, all matter disappeared completely like a clay ox entering the sea. Xiaoming's protector's expression changed slightly. He stared at the prehistoric Big Brother and scolded. Who exactly are you? How can you dissolve my sealed heaven and earth power so easily? You're definitely not an ordinary person. You're not a newly ascended almighty expert. He was very clear about his own ability. A newly ascended almighty expert would definitely deal with him with all his strength. It definitely wouldn't be as easy as the prehistoric Big Brother. Xiaoming's protector was thoroughly angered because he still didn't get a response. He shouted angrily, "Although you're not an almighty expert, you've ignored me time and time again. You're really arrogant. My sealed heaven region is a peak race that looks down on all races in the world. An almighty expert is nothing in front of my race." Boom! The world changed. It was as dark as ink. The pressure was so oppressive that it made the divine king tremble. Then the world went berserk. It was completely dark. The sun, moon, and stars all withered. The entire world was in the process of sealed heaven and earth. It was going to bury the entire great domain of life. The divine king screamed. He hugged his head and cried. They were begging for mercy, but it was useless. The influence of the Almighty's power was too terrifying. They were only affected by the energy, but their bodies couldn't bear it. Even the half-almighty experts felt that their life essence was about to dry up. They were desperate and afraid. What was this? This wasn't targeted at them, but they were facing death. When the lives of the heroes were about to return to darkness, the moment when they returned to peace, the next moment, they trembled, because suddenly an aura was released in the darkness. The moment it bloomed, it was like the sea of the universe that crushed the heavens. God! A large number of experts knelt on the ground and trembled. Their backs were crushed. A figure stood in the darkness. It was infinitely grand and tall. Wisps of essence blood leaked out of his pores and tore the darkness apart. The half-almighty experts were petrified. They seemed to have seen the essence blood gushing out of his pores crush a mighty expert. Chapter 1000. The darkness that filled the sky was torn apart. The radiance that rose between heaven and earth was dazzling, making it difficult for the experts to open their eyes to observe. Only the old antiques of the Great Tao City could clearly see that a small amount of blood essence gushed out from that person's body, tearing apart the darkness and collapsing the ceiling sky, decimating earth layout. They were stunned. What kind of majestic energy was this? It was simply the wrath of a legendary taboo. These people were all horrified and terrified. Fortunately, they didn't participate in the encirclement of Su Yin. Otherwise, even the Almighty wouldn't have been able to protect them. How can that energy be so strong? Some experts began to cry out in surprise. They had caught a small amount of light. The majestic energy was a savage dragon that tore apart the darkness layout, making them tremble. They had an uncontrollable urge to prostrate themselves in worship. Sealing sky, decimating earth. This energy was a huge joke in front of the majestic aura of the prehistoric Big Brother. Is he the one who alarmed my clan's primogenitor's blood? In this trembling world of darkness, a legendary existence crossed over. He was extremely terrifying and heaven-defying. He stepped out of the ancestral land of the sky bamboo lineage and crossed the vast primal chaos ruins in just a few dozen breaths of time, arriving near the great Tao city. But as he approached, he discovered an unimaginable expert. His immeasurable foundation was slightly leaked, and the layout of sealing sky, decimating earth collapsed. The sky bamboo almighty was extremely clear about the methods and strength of the sealing sky region. Although this protector of the sealing sky region wasn't a peak existence among the almighties, he was still considered a well-known figure with extremely strong combat strength. The sealing sky, decimating earth technique used by this person was actually so easily dispelled. This shocked the sky bamboo almighty. Although he could do the same, he knew that he couldn't do it so easily. The sky bamboo almighty's eyes fell on the prehistoric Big Brother. His eyelids twitched wildly, and there was a kind of fear in his eyes. If this scene was seen by other experts, it was unknown how frightened they would be. The sky bamboo almighty was the ultimate overlord of the primal chaos ruins, the strongest expert of the sky bamboo lineage. But now, the sky bamboo almighty was clearly stunned. This was because he couldn't see through such a terrifying existence. Moreover, he had a feeling of falling into a mountain of corpses and a feeling of accompanying the Big Brother in his reincarnation. What a powerful existence! What era did it originate from? I've never heard of it before. The mighty figures of sky bamboo were shocked from the bottom of their hearts. Moreover, their clan's proud daughter, Bamboo Moon, was also by this legendary existence's side. Was this good or bad? The arrival of the mighty figure of Tianju was not noticed by the other experts. As long as he did not show himself, even the old antiques of the Taoist church would have a hard time detecting his presence. At this moment, the world was still so bright that one couldn't open their eyes to observe it. As for Qiu Ming's Tao protector who used the heaven-sealing absolute earth technique, he was scared stiff. His hair stood on end. He had been in the cultivation world for many years, but he had never seen such a terrifying character. He wanted to retreat, but that mysterious shadow that was as grand as the abyss of the great Tao, was staring at him with a pair of icy cold eyes. Let's go, inform. Just one look from the prehistoric Big Brother was enough to make Qiu Ming's guardian's scalp explode. He wanted to say more. However, he couldn't say a single word because the prehistoric Big Brother had moved. A huge hand came sweeping over. Although the palm seemed calm, in the eyes of Qiu Ming's guardian, it was so grand that it could be called the heavens of eternity. It was enough to crush any matter in the world. Roar! Qiu Ming's guardian let out a deafening roar. It shook the vast territory and shattered the boundless mountain range. The experts in the distant great regions were shocked. Some of the cultivators in seclusion almost went mad. Some even cursed. Who's howling? That's the voice of a mighty figure. Is he crazy? Is he trying to cause chaos? The mighty figure's roar had a terrifying penetrative power. Even the great formation could not seal it. It led to the deaths of some cultivators in seclusion because they went mad during the enlightenment process. This was the roar of Qiu Ming's guardian. His hair danced in the wind, and his aura recovered to its peak. The heaven-sealing absolute earth aura reassembled, and the heaven-defying origin power was released. He stood at the peak once more. He didn't believe that he couldn't even block a single attack. He was a majestic, mighty figure, a supreme existence. He had already reached the domain where he could look down on the universe. Moreover, he could easily reverse a portion of the universe's energy split open the heavens and earth, and transform the universe. Could it be that there was still energy in this world that could kill a giant like him? The mighty figure is using extreme energy. He's even burning his enormous life source. Xiaoming's face was gloomy and uncertain. His protector was obviously telling him to leave as soon as possible. This made him extremely shocked. Could it be that his protector, the protector of the sealed heaven region, couldn't even stop the almighty expert of the Zong region? After all, he had come with the confidence to kill a mighty expert. But what was the meaning of telling him to leave now? What exactly happened? Who is it that angered a mighty expert? In the boundless primal chaos ruins, all the great races were quite shocked. Many experts brought out their treasures to observe the battlefield, but everything was a blur. They couldn't see anything clearly. This meant that the battle was too astonishing. As for the spectators in the Great Path City, all of them turned pale. This was because Xiaoming's guardian had decisively raised his combat strength to the extreme domain in a short period of time. It was even to the extent that he'd withdrawn a saint artifact of the Grand Tao, and it was like a natural diagram of the Grand Tao had unfolded and covered the body of Xiaoming's Tao protector, causing his combat strength to rise sharply once more. At this moment, he was like a carrier of the universe. The majestic great path of the universe was presented here. The great path was crushed and collapsed. His aura was already heaven-defying to the extreme. He could easily crush a corner of the universe. When he used all his strength to go berserk, the vast starry sky fell into darkness. As Xiaoming's guardian breathed, a vast amount of spiritual essence was seized by him, transformed in a monstrous spiritual power that he could use, and ran through his entire body. What is he doing? Many people were stunned. Although they didn't understand the realm of a mighty figure, they could see that Xiaoming's guardian was defending. He was doing his best to defend, using several methods to strengthen his defense. Many people were stunned. What was going on? What was Xiaoming's guardian doing? Could it be that there were other powerful cultivators lying in ambush here? Or that the old leader of the burial realm had also come? His guardian's seriousness and decisiveness made Xiaoming extremely decisive. He quickly retreated and left this place. He felt that something was very wrong because Su Yin was too calm right now. The mysterious cultivator he had invited was definitely not a newly advanced mighty figure. Could it be that he was a top mighty figure? As for the old antique of the Tao Temple, he couldn't forget the power of the prehistoric Big Brother's palm. It had severely injured him and shattered his arm. This was an injury that couldn't be healed. Now that this palm had reached out once again, the old antique of the Tao Temple breathed heavily. Just how strong was he? Could he suppress Xiaoming's guardian, whose defense had reached such a level? Boom! The moment the palm came crashing down, the world fell into a dead silence. The seemingly gentle bronze palm was actually like the hand of the heavens that covered the long river of time. It was boundlessly vast as it struck the body of Xiaoming's guardian, who was completely defenseless. Crack! A piercing sound rang out, and everyone was dumbfounded. This was because they saw an image of the sky diagram of the Great Path covering the body of Xiaoming's guardian. In an instant, it began to crack like pieces of scrap iron falling down, smashing the void. It was extremely heavy. How is this possible? The teeth of the half-mighty figure were chattering. This was a Great Path divine weapon, but now, under the attack of the prehistoric Big Brother's palm, the Great Path divine weapon had shattered and turned into scrap iron falling down. What was this? Was this still a human? Could it be that this was an invincible giant from prehistoric times who had crossed over to this era? Even the aura of Xiaoming's guardian, which had reached the heavens and the earth, was rapidly weakened by this palm. This was like a palm that could destroy the world. It was unstoppable and unpredictable. It was impossible to imagine how frightening it was. Xiaoming's Tao protector let out a wild roar. His hair was disheveled, and he had almost been beaten to death. A large portion of his source of life had been shattered. If it wasn't for the protection of the great Tao Saint weapon, that slap just now would have shaken him to death. What was this? Killing a mighty figure was so easy and casual. Xiao Ming's guardian was truly in despair. What kind of existence did Xiao Ming provoke? How could such a character appear in this world? Shouldn't he be sealed? Why was he still able to come out? Swoosh! Xiao Ming's guardian instantly retreated. He still had a glimmer of hope in his heart that he could escape. However, he realized that he was thinking too much. The prehistoric Big Brother's palm was once again pressing down on him, and this time it was even more domineering. The palm was even bigger, and the 5 fingers were like endless pillars that supported the sky. The palm was like the ancient heavens, so deep that it could bury all the immortals and demons in the heavens. No! Xiao Ming's guardian cried out in grief. This was a very cruel thing. The prehistoric Big Brother was going to crush him in his palm. He was truly in despair. A magnificent mighty expert was in despair after being intimidated by the prehistoric Big Brother. What kind of ruthless person was this? How could he walk peacefully in this world? This didn't conform to common sense and shattered his understanding of the universe's environment. This state of despair and the threat of death. The substance hidden between his brows was awakened like a bolt of lightning. It was like a fist-sized little person and was extremely terrifying. A pair of pupils opened as if it represented the eyes of the heavens, the light and darkness that ruled the world. Although it was a little person, its hair and beard were all white. It was full of the might of the heavens and was like an emperor that ruled the universe. He was startled awake. He saw the prehistoric Big Brother's palm pressing down, about to crush Xiao Ming's guardian and himself. He was instantly enraged and transmitted a terrifying will, emitting an earth-shaking ancient language. Long, in the distant space-time, in a place cut off from the world, divine light suddenly flourished and pierced through the primal chaos. A terrifying region emerged from the water surface, crushing the primal chaos that covered the sky and shaking open the boundless great earth. There was a large, indistinct domain within, like a condensed small universe. It released energy light, illuminating millions upon millions of rivers and mountains. It was incomparably terrifying. Heavens! A passing expert trembled. This was the legendary sealed heaven region, suppressing millions upon millions of li of rivers and mountains into a sealed state. All cultivators who passed by were sealed and couldn't move in the slightest. The mountain gates of this region were wide open, transmitting world-shocking anger. Terrifying figures rushed out one after another, rushing towards their destination. Who is it that angered the ancestral imprint? Who dares to provoke the experts of our sealed heaven region? Is it Xiao Ming, that child who is threatened? A few days ago, Xiao Ming sent a message saying that he wanted to destroy a mighty expert. We discussed it and felt that it wasn't a big matter. We nodded in agreement to destroy the mighty expert. It seems like an accident happened during the destruction process. No matter who it is, those who dare to provoke our sealed heaven region will all be killed. Their entire clan will be wiped out. Not a single one will be left alive. Our sealed heaven region has been unequaled since ancient times, looking down on tens of thousands of races under the heavens. We are high and mighty, yet they dare to provoke our race. No matter what race they are from, they will all be wiped out. Not a single one will be left alive. Those were experts with terrifying auras. Their fury surged into the heavens as they directly rushed out of the sealed heaven region. With the help of their race's terrifying supreme treasures, they crossed the vast long river of time and space and rushed towards Great Tao City to denounce the culprits. Brothers, do you want to see Bamboo Moon's beautiful picture? I'm going to post it on my public account tomorrow. Those who don't follow can add me on WeChat and search follow Yi Qing Tian. You'll see it tomorrow. Chapter 1001. Billions of miles of territory rose and fell, rumbling. This was the scene of the 4 seas trembling as if the world was being created. What was the life forbidden zone? The appearance of the sealed heaven region was enough to represent the power and prosperity of the life forbidden zone. This region belonged to Xiao Ming's bloodline, releasing rays of light that reached the sky. The sun and moon lost their colors, the mountains and rivers began to rumble, and the great Tao collapsed. The sealed heaven region was powerful to the point of prosperity, blooming with terrifying light, as if it was the ruler of the world. It used to be a broken universe, but under the control of the sealed heaven region, it was refined into a great region over time. The broken universes were condensed together, forming a unique universe structure called the sealed heaven region. The sealed heaven region forbade the experts of any clan from entering. The most outstanding expert of this generation of the clan was Chiu Ming. This was the source of Chiu Ming's confidence, the reason why he could run rampant in the world. Otherwise, why would the Han family try to curry favor with him? Why would the heavenly bamboo bloodline try to rope him in? Even the strongest experts of the young generation in the universe would fight to befriend him. The life forbidden zone was indeed a life forbidden zone. The sealed heaven region's godly might shook the world. It was truly an immeasurably powerful region. Once the sealed heaven region was revealed to the world, it would forcibly suppress everything within millions and millions of li. It would devour the great life domains one after another, making the boundless creatures tremble in fear. They felt as if they were being sealed, feeling as if a great disaster was about to befall them. The aura of the ancestral land. Chiu Ming was pleasantly surprised. He was running for his life when he sensed the grand energy fluctuations of the ancestral land in the distance. He instantly laughed and said, "My clan's ancestral land is open. Let me ask the forces in the world, who dares to compete with me? Who dares to compete with me?" His laughter was filled with confidence again, and it was even more magnificent. He even turned around and drove back to the battlefield. It's the aura of the sealed heaven region. Did something happen in the great Tao city that alarmed the sealed heaven region? A life forbidden zone has appeared. This is a big event. I wonder what happened that provoked the opening of the sealed heaven region's gate. Many ancient clans and families were shocked by the energy waves of the sealed heaven domain. They even noticed a dozen terrifying energy waves rushing out from the sealed heaven domain. It was definitely a group of old antiques from the sealed heaven domain, rushing madly towards the great Tao city. With the unique environment of the sealed heaven domain, which was a terrifying environment, one could reach any corner of the chaos ruins in a short time, except for the life forbidden zone. In short, the experts from the sealed heaven region rushed out, emitting fierce killing intent. The sealed heaven region had always been strong and domineering, and no one dared to compete with them. But now, the ancestral land was releasing the anger of the primogenitor's mark. How could the experts from the sealed heaven region sit still? It doesn't matter who it is, we have to exterminate them. The dignity of the realm of sealing heaven cannot be blasphemed, and the status of the forbidden zone cannot be challenged. This is the bloody reality. My race has been running rampant throughout the universe epics. Who have we been afraid of? Whoever dares to provoke my clan is destined to pay the price in blood. This was their opinion, and when it spread, it alarmed the major clans and forces, making them panic. What kind of heaven-defying event had happened that made the sealed heaven region unable to suppress the killing intent in their hearts and directly shout it out? It seems that the great Tao city's domain is going to be in chaos. Is it going to enter a bloody state of gods and demons' conquest? I don't know how many people will die, and the great Tao city is under the jurisdiction of the Taoist temple. Will the Taoist temple interfere? It's hard to say. The Taoist temple's background is terrifying, and it's not inferior to the sealed heaven region, but it doesn't want to be the enemy of the sealed heaven region. In short, this war is inevitable. It's said that it's related to Su Yin. Could it be that Su Yin has invited a big shot from the sealed heaven region to protect him? The forces in the world knew very well how powerful a life forbidden zone was. Their ancestral land alone was terrifying enough, and after a long time of precipitation, the sealed heaven region had condensed the essence of the incomplete universe, and all kinds of rare treasures were born in their ancestral land all year round. In addition, The special environment of the sealed heaven region could ensure that the clan would never decline. Even the experts who had sealed themselves for a long and long time. There were records of the clans that in the life forbidden zone, there were experts who had survived the great tribulation of the epic. They had lived for so long that it was possible that the invincible king of the sealed heaven region from the previous era of the universe was still alive. In another extremely distant domain, the rumbling sound of Tao spread over millions of miles. Of course, people were not surprised because the sound of Tao had been transmitted from one era of the universe to another and would never dissipate. If it really dissipated, it would mean that the Taoist temple was on the decline. This was an area under the jurisdiction of the Taoist temple, which covered hundreds of domains. The entire vast domain was sacred and solemn. Sometimes auspicious signs of the great Tao would be born, and purple chi would come from the east and pass through in a mighty manner. The mountain gate of the Taoist temple was also sacred to the extreme. The fluctuations of the sealed heaven region's appearance were obviously captured by the experts of the Taoist temple, and the destination of the expert from the sealed heaven region was obviously the great Tao city. It seems that something big has happened. The mountain gate of the sealed heaven region has opened. What happened? The experts of the Taoist temple discussed, and someone said, the great Tao city is the #1 city in the universe. Once there is a terrifying confrontation, it is likely that the dragon vein of the great Tao city will be damaged. The Taoist temple should send experts into the great Tao city to maintain its safety. Yes, it should be so. No matter how overbearing the sealed heaven region is, they will not rashly make an enemy out of the Taoist temple. The Taoist temple was filled with the atmosphere of the founder of Taoism. In this ancestral land, there was also a mysterious space-time where fog was clear and bamboo forests were everywhere. This was a wonderland, and it was beautiful beyond compare. In a world of clouds and fog, one could vaguely see a woman with snow-white hair. She looked very old, and her whole body was filled with the vicissitudes of time. No one knew how long she had lived. However, this woman's face was exquisite, and there was no sign of aging at all. Her body was perfect and graceful, and her skin was snow-white and translucent like water. She had a kind of immortal aura, as if she had existed forever with the world. A pair of bright eyes that contained the vicissitudes of time emitted purple light. She glanced in the direction of the sealed heaven region, and the entire sealed heaven region appeared in her eyes. She vaguely deciphered the orbit of the sealed heaven region. Then, she looked at the great Tao city in the distance. Her eyes seemed to have seen through the past, present, and future, and she saw the prehistoric Big Brother. However, in her eyes, the figure of the prehistoric Big Brother was blurry, unreal, and non-existent. It was like a dark whirlpool, and also like the blood-red apocalypse. It could not be imprinted in her eyes at all. This made her sigh deeply. I seem to have seen him before, but why can't I remember who he is? Could it be that we are on the same path? But this can't be. The great Tao city was a pure land for generations. The vast rivers, mountains, and forests in the outside world fell into a dead silence because of the shocking actions of the prehistoric Big Brother. The cultivators in the city were tongue-tied. They could only feel disbelief at the scene in front of them. There was no other thought. Some people felt that their eyes were going blind. What did they see? Xiaoming's protector was trembling. An almighty powerhouse, a high and mighty giant, was now trembling because of the prehistoric Big Brother's hand. This was too ridiculous. An almighty powerhouse was already a giant, but now he was trembling with fear. How could this be? The older generation's powerhouses felt their scalps go numb. A terrifying thought appeared in their minds, and they were so shocked that they had goosebumps all over their bodies. They said in a trembling voice, "Could it be that this person is an almighty?" Impossible. Someone refuted on the spot. The buried region had already given birth to an old leader, who was known as an almighty in the outside world. But how could a second almighty emerge from a clan? Even the overlords of the Sky Bamboo bloodline only had one almighty overlord. But if there were two, it was simply heaven-defying. However, The way Xiao Ming's protector looked made them feel that this was the truth. The other party was most likely an almighty roar. The starry skies swayed, and the sun and moon sank. This was the angry roar of Xiao Ming's protector. He was actually afraid, and this made him dissatisfied and angry. Although this was an instinctive reaction, he was still a magnificent almighty powerhouse, so he was still extremely berserk. The sea of stars in the sky caved in, shattered by his roar. The dilapidated great region flowed with endless chaotic radiance. He was operating his greatest combat strength to resist the prehistoric Big Brother's terrifying palm. But no matter how astonishing his strength was, the prehistoric Big Brother's bronze palm was unstoppable and immortal. It seemed to crush the heavens and destroy the universe, tearing apart the energy storm that filled the sky. This made Xiao Ming's protector despair. How could this be? Why couldn't his energy block it? Why couldn't he block it? When the prehistoric Big Brother's palm was about to make contact with Xiao Ming's protector, he truly despaired to the point of death because his life essence was about to be crushed. However, at this critical juncture, his sea of consciousness blossomed with divine radiance. An imprint within awakened, turning into a fist-sized little person. It contained a terrifying immortal aura and was full of immortal Tao fluctuations. Primogenitor's imprint. Xiao Ming's protector was overjoyed. This was the awakening of the primogenitor's imprint. It emitted immeasurable energy, as if an immortal aura enveloped his incomparably distorted body. The space between his brows blossomed with divine radiance. The fist-sized little person towered within, possessing a supreme divine might that could dominate the world. It was as if its body had transformed into the heavens, its might terrifying to the extreme. It was as if the primogenitor of the sealed heaven domain had come back to life. A pair of eyes that could pierce through the past, present, and future opened. It was as if there were two condensed universes. The radiance they emitted was about to seal the heaven and earth and recreate the universe. The prehistoric Big Brother waved his bronze hand. It was powerful and unstoppable. It collapsed the domain of the almighty expert and vaguely wanted to grab Xiao Ming's protector's body. However, his body surged with divine radiance and actually resisted the prehistoric Big Brother's hand. The prehistoric Big Brother's attack truly shocked the almighty experts. It was as if a vast and majestic world was pressing down. It was filled with the aura of the eternal heavens. Even the almighty experts couldn't struggle free and escape the domain. However, the fist-sized little person between Xiao Ming's protector's brows glowed. It stretched out its four limbs as if it was propping up the heavens of the universe. It emitted divine, immortal radiance and wanted to dominate the entire world once more. What happened? Outsiders couldn't see clearly, but Su Yin saw everything clearly. Even his eye of the universe was about to be blinded. Xiao Ming's protector's head was emitting a radiance millions of times more resplendent than the sun. It was too shocking and full of mythical colors. At first, Su Yin thought he had encountered an unpredictable change. But the Big Brother was still the Big Brother. His bronze hand glowed as his 5 fingers moved one after the other. Every movement of his fingers was like a giant pillar that supported the heavens collapsing. The power that could crush the ages was powerful, tyrannical, and peerless. Nothing could stop him. Even the prehistoric Big Brother's pupils were emitting cold light. At this moment, his aura was completely different. He stood at the peak of the universe and vaguely emitted a roar that could shake the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It was as if he wanted to bury the entire universe and suppress everything. Xiao Ming's protector let out a sorrowful cry. In the end, his body couldn't hold on any longer and exploded in the process of trembling. Millions and millions of miles of territory were trembling. The dark red light dyed the great domains of life red. This was a cruel change caused by the fall of a powerhouse. It affected the boundless universe. Chapter 1002. A powerhouse had fallen. His blood surged, and his tragic aura was vast and mighty. The scene of the blood-stained territory covered one vast region after another. The skies seemed to be weeping blood, and an extremely tragic aura filled the air. It surged and shook the four seas as it surged into the distance. The world was dark red, and even the sea of stars was dyed red. This was the sign of a powerhouse's fall. A powerhouse defied the heavens. But once such a powerhouse fell, a terrifying phenomenon would be born that would shock the world. The vast territory was in an uproar. A powerhouse had fallen. This matter was too terrifying. It made billions of living beings tremble, and their limbs began to tremble uncontrollably. In the past, they had titled powerhouses as celestials and worshipped them. But now, a powerhouse of a generation had been crushed by the prehistoric Big Brother's palm. How savage was this? It was enough to suppress the world and look down on all the heavens. After the great energy exploded, the life essence that poured out was even more vigorous than the ocean. It rushed into the land and nourished the broken regions, and the collapsed mountains gathered together once again to stand tall between the heavens and the earth. The beautiful land was surging with a tragic aura. The fall of a powerhouse would also reverse the heavens and the earth. Unfortunately, there were no traces of living beings in this vast territory. Only Su Yin and Bamboo Moon were nearby. In an instant, the two's bodies blazed to the extreme. The life essence stored by the powerhouse was too vigorous. Although it was useless to the prehistoric Big Brother, it was still a priceless life essence that they could not obtain even if they begged for it. Bamboo Moon's snow-white body bloomed with divine radiance. She was sacred and solemn. She was indescribably beautiful, like a fairy walking on waves, floating like an immortal. Under the impact of the huge amount of life essence, Bamboo Moon's body became even more vigorous. The Divine King's foundation that was accumulating to break through suddenly became much more violent. This creation was too shocking. It made Bamboo Moon's aura terrifying, and her might suppressed the sea of stars in the universe. Vaguely, she was about to walk into the future and blast open the Divine King's door, turning into a Divine King of the heavens and standing at the peak of the world. At this moment, Bamboo Moon had accumulated a powerful king's foundation. She was like a peerless female Divine King. The phenomenon behind her was monstrous. There were stars of the universe revolving and arranged, and there were also bright moons hanging in the sky, illuminating the world. The two types of irregular scenes reflected each other, but they were actually one type of irregular scene. When released to the extreme, the sun and moon would be destroyed, a terrifying aura would ripple outwards. She seemed to have opened up a sea of chaotic stars, rising from the peak, about to reach the peak. Oh, the Sky Bamboo Almighty had been entrenched nearby. At this moment, his ancient eyes narrowed slightly as his gaze fell on Bamboo Moon. He examined her for a while and revealed an astonished expression. He muttered, "It seems that my race's star moon physique has encountered a great opportunity. She should have been guided by this mysterious existence. Her future is limitless. Since my race's star moon physique was guided by him, it means that my race has no enmity with him. But I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. If her foundation was a little stronger, then she could borrow the blood essence of this fallen almighty to blast open the Divine King's door. It's a pity. The Sky Bamboo Almighty's emotions were complicated. The appearance of his prehistoric big brother had exceeded his understanding. This big shot had run amok in the world, and who could stop his divine might? But his appearance had also broken the rules of the universe. But no matter what, the Sky Bamboo Almighty attached great importance to Bamboo Moon. Destruction and new life coexisted, evolving into a brand new Tao fruit. Once Bamboo Moon stepped into the Divine King's domain, she would definitely have the qualifications to become a peerless Divine King. Immediately, the Sky Bamboo Almighty's eyes fell on Su Yan. He was a little surprised and couldn't figure out Su Yan's situation. But in his eyes, Su Yan seemed to have turned into a strange stone of heaven and earth, nurturing a terrifying Tao fruit. Once awakened, it would definitely shock the world. Currently, Su Yin was using the body nurturing technique to crazily absorb the Almighty's essence flowing between heaven and earth. With every breath, the accumulation of the body nurturing technique surged. What a joke! This was the essence of an Almighty, the Tao protector of Qiuming, who had been torn apart by the prehistoric Big Brother. He had cultivated for eons, and his cultivation was unfathomable. His life's essence contained all sorts of inconceivable energy, but the body nurturing technique was extremely tyrannical. It seized the good fortune of heaven and earth, gathering the origin energy of famous mountains and great rivers. It included the origin energy of all life in the universe to nourish his body, nurturing the body, nurturing the life. In short, Su Yan's foundation soared, and his body nurturing technique accumulated to an extremely heaven-defying level. It was as if he was carrying a dragon's vein, and there were signs of it reaching perfection. During the process, Su Yan's ninth heaven of the divine spirit realm fluctuated violently. In just a few breaths' time, he soared to the ninth heaven of the divine spirit realm's consummate level. In short, his energy was completely saturated, and he could not continue to absorb the slightest bit. This meant that Su Yin couldn't continue to grow. His combat strength had reached the limit. However, there were still rich, almighty essences drifting between heaven and earth. In less than 10 minutes, these essences would return to heaven and earth, never to be obtained again. Of course, this large region would become extremely impressive, becoming a holy land for cultivation. Su Yin decisively took out the void herb field. The hundreds of heavenly and earthly treasures planted in it shone, fiercely absorbing the Almighty's essence. Using energy to nurture treasured herbs. If this were to spread out, even the Divine King would feel the pinch. However, Su Yin had already reached the peak of his cultivation. On the other hand, Bamboo Moon was still accumulating the Divine King's foundation. They would definitely climb to the peak. After all, the life essence leaked out from the Almighty was enough for the Divine King to break through several minor realms. It was even possible for him to stand at the peak. After all, there were only the two of them cultivating here. Su Yan's void herb field had planted all sorts of wondrous herbs, and they were growing healthily. One breath was equivalent to 100 years. In short, it was really frightening. If these ancient herbs were to be sold, their value would definitely double. Unfortunately, Su Yin and Bamboo Moon's abilities were limited. They were unable to intercept more of the Almighty's essence. They could only watch as the boundless life essence merged with heaven and earth. As for the old antique hiding in Great Tao City and not daring to show his face, he really wanted to kill someone. If he hadn't offended Big Brother Prehistoric, he would have just run out and devoured it. The effect would have been the worst. It could have extended his life by 100 years. However, the Almighty's essence was wasted just like that. Has the Almighty fallen? In the silent Great Tao City, there was a trembling voice, causing the atmosphere in the city to become even heavier. Many glared at the scene outside Great Tao City. It was suspected that the Almighty had fallen, and strange phenomena had occurred. They had read about it in ancient books, but here they saw the cruel reality. The experts found it hard to believe. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, who would have believed that the Almighty had been killed so quickly? However, the scene in the blood-stained territory was blurry. Someone growled, "Impossible, the Almighty wouldn't be so weak." Even if there was a huge disparity in combat strength, they could have resisted with all their might and held on for some time. Did you notice? There is still an aura leaking out from the battlefield. The battle is still going on. Some experts in the city caught it. In the direction of the source, there was still an unparalleled sense of oppression. Unfortunately, their strength was not enough, and they were not qualified to watch this battle. Big Brother Prehistoric's bronze hand was constantly glowing. It was like a condensed universe, flowing with a blurry light. It was extremely close to boiling. This is... Su Yin and Bamboo Moon looked at each other. They were a little surprised. Hadn't Xiaoming's protector been killed by Big Brother Prehistoric? But who was he targeting now? Looking at Big Brother Prehistoric's cold face, it seemed that the enemy he had encountered was even stronger than Xiaoming's protector. His entire bronze hand seemed to be burning, outlining a world of a universe. The world in the palm seemed to be obliterating immortal matter. No one could see the image of the world in the palm, nor could they see a fist-sized person in it. It was like the heavens that controlled the universe. It had terrifying divine might, and any blasphemers would be killed without mercy. Unfortunately, he had encountered Big Brother Prehistoric, a barbarian giant. The fist-sized person began to turn illusory in the struggle. Roar! Vaguely, a roar shook open the seal and came directly from the palm. The ancestral mark of the sealed heaven region seemed to be the manifestation of the clan's ancestor, but it was cruelly suppressed. It emitted an ancient language, but there was no response at all. Just like that, under the endless suppression, the imprint finally dissipated. The prehistoric Big Brother clenched his fist. He appeared careful and cautious, making sure that all the imprints were wiped clean. Only then did his bronze hand loosen. Sparkling specks of light scattered into nothingness, returning to darkness. Big Brother Prehistoric was obliterating the Almighty's primordial spirit just now. Su Yin scratched his head. He could not figure it out. He did not know who Big Brother Prehistoric was targeting just now. The world regained its tranquility. A cold wind blew, blowing away the bloody light in the sky. Is it over? The great Tao city was so quiet that it was suffocating. No one dared to say a word, because there was a high possibility of a tragic event in front of them. This was a bloody event that would shake the entire universe. Although the Almighty of the Ancestral Hall had fallen more than 10 years ago, that Almighty's fall was also due to an accident. The Celestial Mother formation that he was riding had an accident and was invaded by a space-time storm. He was severely injured, and his foundation was greatly damaged. Then he was killed by the old leader. However, if Almighty died tragically near the great Tao city, and it did not even cause a huge storm, and the time was extremely short, then this was heaven-defying. Now, the chaos ruins were shaking continuously. The sealed heaven region appeared. In the direction of the great Tao city, a bloody light rushed into the sky. In a situation that shocked the world, one by one, the vast regions were shaking one after another. Who is that group of people crossing space-time? Are they chasing after a strong enemy? Or are they traveling billions of miles in a day to destroy the top orthodoxies? It's too terrifying. Are they the experts of a group of tribes? The gods trembled as they saw the scene of blood and chi across millions of miles. It was not just one. There were more than 10 almighty figures of the sealed heaven region passing through. Their blood and chi were torrential, and their divine power was vast. They reached the peak of the sky and burned fiercely. It was truly terrifying. They were crossing space-time. Wherever they passed, the sun and moon fell together. In just half an instant's time, more than 10 cosmic torrents rushed out of the sealed heaven region, crushing the sky and shaking thousands of races in the universe. The sealed heaven region's approach was simple. They used the most high-profile stance to crush any orthodoxies that dared to provoke them, and kill them without mercy. Chapter 2 ends here.